but I always like to go into like how an artist gets to the point that they are a music producer. How did this all start for you for music?
Music in general.
Making music.
Sure, yeah. My parents are not musical, but they insisted on me being musical.
Interesting.
Yeah. Don't know why, but it's, they put me in like toddler, like percussion classes or something like weird, where it's just like babies just bang on the ground. And my dad is like, he's a genius. So it's like taking, piano lessons when I was 4. They were like sitting with me, like holding my back, so I like wouldn't fall off the chair. I wasn't like a savant, you know what I mean? But I learned piano from a very young age.
That's sweet.
I wanted to play the guitar so badly, but they were like, you have to play piano till you're 10, for whatever reason, and then you'll get a guitar. As soon as I got that guitar, I never played piano. Like, I know my way around a piano, you know what I mean? Like,
And since,
and I kind of lost it for a little bit, and then now that I've been like writing a lot for the last few years, I like taught myself back how to do, chords and all that stuff. But I've always been able to, like, a lot of the Marshmallow stuff's like melodic. I can always like run scales. I've always been able to.
Gotcha.
But I was really guitar oriented, which is why a lot of my earlier stuff is very like, almost like punk guitar leaning, especially like Come and Go with Juice WRLD, stuff like that. Like,
love that song.
Thanks. The guitar's right here actually that I played it.
Really?
Every song I like play guitar on, that specific guitar is here right now.
We're definitely gonna have to check that out.
We'll break it out later.
Sick.
Yeah, it's all beat up. It's actually pretty good.
Where did the idea for Marshmallow come from?
So, I had been an artist, a lot of different artists, bands, stuff like that, But I was just messing around with I got like a huge sample pack from a friend, and just messing around with, I never really used a lot of samples coming up. I always thought even like kick samples, snare samples. For some reason, when I was like learning how to produce, I'm like, I have to do it myself and like layer 4 snares together and layer 3 kicks together and EQ them all and put them in a chain. And but I come to find out all my peers are just using sample packs. So I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this expedites so much. Instead of spending half a day making a kick, I just drag a kick that already sounds good.
Yeah.
And I remember like learning that. So right around then, and I just started making. I've always loved melodies, like melody. It's definitely some of my favorite part. My favorite part of writing music, and I was just writing. I came from the East Coast, so there's a lot of Jersey club over there, a lot of trap music. That's how I grew up, and I just started making Jersey club mixed with this and throwing samples and throwing these vocal samples and all this stuff, and before I know it, I was making 3 songs a day.
Wow.
And laying down on my bed, like on my stomach, like making these songs. But all my other music, I was like, I have to be in the studio with my keyboard and my mouse.
Do you guys remember the old stacking item meta? Back in the day, there were certain champions with whom you could build the same item over and over again. This was because at that time, mythic items didn't even exist, and the passives of the items could stack. For example, you could pick Jin and buy a ton of infinity edges, and you will be doing 2500 damage auto attacks. Another example of this item was Garen. The E of Garen can do critical strikes, and back in the day, it was not balanced at all. This also happened with the old Black Cleaver. As we all know, the passive of the Black Cleaver reduces the armor of the enemy. Back in the day, the armor reduction was 7.5%, but you could buy more than one and stack that number. So you will be seeing Pantheons and Miss Fortune building the item and completely stomping the games as soon as they get 3 or 4 Black Cleavers. It was for sure an interesting time. Do you guys remember the old stack?
So fancy. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I thought I needed. But for some reason, when I started this Marshmallow project, I was just cranking out just my own little version of, Jersey Club. And, and Jersey Club, it's like all kicks the whole time, Dum, 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 dum. And that was fine. but I also wanted to like experiment with like putting a snare on that third kick, so it's like dun 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 dun. So like people would like, I thought maybe it'd be a little bit more mainstream, you know, because sometimes just Jersey's a little confusing, and I really liked how it sounded, and so like once I kind of did that, I feel like for like 2 years all my music was just dum 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 dum. You know what I mean? Because like it can like make people jump, and they have that like call and response of the kick snare that they're so used to in all other kinds of music, you know. So anyways, yeah, so I was just running with this. Like I said, it's just like caught. It just caught something in my body where I was just like, I couldn't stop making this music. It was so exciting. I felt like there were no rules, you know? And so I just did that, sent it to my manager. I think I had like 8 or 9 songs done in like the first 5 days or something, 4 days, whatever. And he's like,
crazy.
You know, we should start a project, man, like something new. And me living at home still, I'm like, yes, I'll do anything, like whatever. So we sat there and came up with the Marshmallow and mellow melodies, and it was kind of mellow, chill. You know what I mean? Like even like my first single was "Keep It Mellow" with Omar Links.
Oh wow!
And that was like shot a music video, my first music video. We like went to Borbor's house and shot it there, and like invited all of our like DJ friends out and stuff, and it's a crazy time. But that's like a very mellow song, you know what I mean? And yeah, it just kind of all kind of fell into place. You know, I got a lot of remix opportunities, which were really huge for me. Which, like, looking back, like I was making them at my parents' house. Like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, what this project was, what everything, you know, because I was just so tunnel vision on, like, my music. And, like, I'm gonna make this work. So, yeah, just kind of fell out, like, just snowball.
Would you say that the idea for being able to just create from any place was kind of that driving factor for you to not be like hindered down by making a specific type of music that you were kind of boxed into before? Like this kind of gave you the freedom to do anything in a sense?
Yeah, I always said it kind of felt like a culmination of everything I learned since that garage band day when I was 9.
Yeah.
You know, the trap drum, the melodies and stuff, the chords and you know, a lot of this stuff lends itself where I was coming from when I wrote a lot of, you know, the chord progressions or the melodies, very like pop punk oriented, you know what I mean? Like Newfound Glory and Sum 41 and Good Charlotte and like all that stuff, you know what I mean? Like nursery rhyming sounds like kind of like bad, you know, connotations, but it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like a melody that goes up and a melody that concludes, you know? A lot of that music is like that, and that's the only stuff I grew up on. And yeah, so when it came time to write melodies, what was in my blood, in my DNA, were these very catchy, like pop punk-esque, you know, melodies. So,
did it work right away, or did it take a bit for the music to start catching on?
For Marshmallow?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of instantaneous.
Really?
Which also, I think why, I wouldn't say I was like disconnected, but I was just cranking out music, and I knew it was gaining attention, you know what I mean? Because like the SoundCloud days, you know what I mean? Just there's all the metrics right there, you know, and you can just see everything, and the shares and the comments and stuff. It's like, it was so exciting for me, you know? Because I had been trying for so long to make something work, and things went really well here and here and here, but nothing really fully came to fruition until then. So I was just cranking out remixes, you know, for Selena, remixes for Ellie and Calvin, all these remixes, and like I just like didn't know what was going on. It was just like my face in my computer. Yeah. So it was just a really crazy time, honestly.
Which remix would you say was like the turning point for you that like really pushed to that next level then?
What really pushed to the next level, I would say, you know, there's a few pinnacle things, right? I remember I put out the Calvin Harris, Ellie Goulding Outside one, and I listened back to it the other day, and I was like, this is kind of like swaggy. I'm like, this is pretty sick. I was like, what was I thinking? Not like what was I thinking, like, oh, what'd you do? But like, I don't know where I was at. Like, why did I choose to pitch the vocals? Why did I choose to have like claps running the whole drop, like almost like twerk shit or something? You know, it's just like, there's no rules. I was just doing whatever. DJ Snake hit me up like that.
Really?
Yeah. If we're talking remixes, strictly remixes, he was like, yo, like, you got the juice, dude. Like, good shit.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and then the real one was when Sonny reached out for me to do the Where Are You Now remix.
Yeah, what did that feel like?
That's the remix. That's the remix. You know, Skrillex, he hit my manager up, I think, and I had just originals out. And he hit my manager up and was like, dude, I have to know, like, who Marshmello is, you know? And Mo, my manager's like, I'm not going to tell you. And he's like, come on, man, like, it's fine. Whatever, so, like, all that transpires, and we get in contact, and, you know, we're really close, and, you know, I released some songs on Ausla, but before that was the Where Are You Now remix, because I remember I made that back in, you know, my parents' basement. And that was the one. Well, first of all, I remember when I heard Where Are You Now, I was like, this is where my head is with, like, Marshmello. Like, the original song. I was like, damn. I was like, that's like what I've been chasing, this sound, this like, this vocal little chop that has like a really small reverb on, a really small room reverb on it, and it's distorted, and it has like the deep house bass line, you know what I mean? It was everything that like I was going for, and I was like, oh man. And then they're like, yo, you want to remix it? I'm like, yeah. So what I did was I put, you know, that like drum loop that we were talking about earlier, huge saw bass, chopped up, made my own little melody of the lead, and they loved it. And I was just so happy. That was the one. That really was the one, because it kind of like, it was like everything that was going on at the time, you know, like all came together right there with that remix.
That's amazing.
Remix wise, yeah. It was crazy piece.
What did it feel like to get that call from Skrillex?
I was like so nervous, you know what I mean? My manager was like, call him back. I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, that's Skrillex. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? I just came. I was just living with my parents in my childhood home. And now I'm like calling these big DJs and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm like, just hold on. I'm like, I just couldn't get a grip on what's going on.
Did you decide to call him?
Yeah.
Was that the famous call?
That was the famous call.
What? Tell me about that call. Tell me what that was like.
That was that conversation. I was like, no, dude, I'm not just gonna call Skrillex. Are you insane? You know what I mean? Because you have to understand, coming up in college and all that stuff, learning how to do this, who else was there? Who was at the top? You know? Like, so he's like, call him. I'm like, all right, fine. He probably won't pick up. Like, I'm like, nobody. And he picked up, and it's Katie Couric. And I'm like, oh, what's up, Katie Couric? And she's like, yo, I'm here with Sonny. And Sonny's like, oh yeah, this new kid, Marshmello. You know, he's cool. And I was in LA, and I was going to see him. He's like, I'll see you later, man. Like, the interview's up still. But that was the thing. I turned to my manager. I'm like, dude, I think I might be on the news. And he's like, who's Katie Couric? You know, I'm on the East Coast, so like, you know, I forget what the news thing was, but she's like a huge personality. She's a huge personality in general. I'm like, I think they might put that on somewhere. He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm probably just like freaking out. I was just like generally freaked out in the beginning of my career, you know what I mean? Because everything, I was like, this can't be right. What's happening, you know? And sure enough, I get a text. He says, fuck. Not fuck, I forget what, but he sent me a text like, yo, look. And it was the interview.
That just went crazy. Like, so, okay, the first time you call Skrillex ever was that...
No. Maybe that's why I was so nervous at the time. I don't remember.
That's just
It very well could have been. It very well could have been.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Because it was always through, you know what I mean? Like, my manager was like the social one, you know, when I was coming up.
Yeah.
So I was like, just like making, you know, like I said, making my music, just, you know, head in my laptop, and he's like, yo, this person, you know, wants to meet and all this stuff. So most likely, yeah, that was my first time.
That happens with them. That's insane.
Yeah, it was insane. It's just crazy, man. I'm just like so grateful for everything. You know, as you get older with anything, you kind of like reflect.
Yeah.
I'm definitely like in my reflecting stage last week.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've never heard you do an interview before, ever. Like, I've heard you do like small things here and there.
Yeah.
What made you want to start telling more of your story?
I think it was just kind of like, let's see where this goes. You know what I mean? We had a thing in the beginning, like mysterious, no voice. like, you know, I'm like kind of goofy, you know what I mean? So I was like kind of acting like funny, stuff like
You
that.
had like yes or no buttons and
body
then,
language,
like,
yeah,
charades.
you know, all that stuff. And at the time, that was like that's what it needed to be, you know what I mean? That's what I like doing. You know, because it all ties back, like the antisocial aspect of being a producer. Like, it's fine with me. I don't have to talk. I don't have to think about like interviews and saying the right thing and all this pressure, you know? That's what I'm really like thankful for, you know? It's like I kind of got to, you know, there's obviously plenty of pressure in other areas, but some parts that artists deal with where they have stage, I always talk on stage, but you know what I mean? Like being more social, more vocal, more of a personality, I kind of got to like circumvent that for a while, especially at the peak of my career, which I think helped me a lot kind of maintain, you know, the person who I am and kind of, you know, keep what I like to think a level head. You know, obviously have my moments like everybody does, but it was, I'm really grateful for that. It was odd though, you know, like looking back, I'm kind of like, oh man, I was like really dancing like a crazy person, doing all this stuff, but at every phase of Marshmallow and everything, I'm just so especially just grateful for, and every phase is so different. So right now it's like, you know, 10 years in, man, like I did the whole charades thing, you know? I did this, I did the writing on a thing. Oh, it's so funny, he doesn't talk. But now I'm like, yo, I have so many things to tell, you know?
Yeah.
So even on the production stuff too, man, like I just put my first production video up the other day on the first track on my Roots EP. It's like a trap album, a trap EP. I did that, explained to everybody, you know, very just nonchalant, you know, maybe too nonchalant for some people. They were kind of upset with me about not being like too detailed, but it was my first one, so, you know, I'm like learning how to do it all. But, you know, there's all these things I've always wanted to do that wasn't like the protocol back then, you know, no talking, which is, I was on board with it, you know? But now, it just feels right, and I feel, you know, more in touch with the brand as a person.
Yeah, how the brand, in my opinion, kind of reminds me a lot of Spider-Man, right? Like, man can be under the mask. It kind of like inspires like so many generations and everything like that. You've kind of been able to touch so many different generations, as well as so many different cultures.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be such like a global artist because of that?
Everything about like that we're talking about, there's always a little disbelief still mixed into everything, you know what I mean? Because I just think it's so important, and especially just, you know, catering to everybody of my thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even my sets, like just everything, the music on it, like how diverse it is, you know what I mean? And there's been a lot of songs I've passed up on like culturally because I didn't really know what to do with them, you know? I'll only do something if I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this like, I feel this like through my soul, this is what I want to do, you know what I mean? Like one of my biggest cultural impacts, song-wise, was Biba. I did for India and Bollywood and all this stuff. And I grew up in the suburbs. Like I don't know, but they brought me this opportunity and I just learned so much. And I went over there and met all these dudes and went to parties out there.
Yeah.
It was like with these people, I'm like, just these people in a different country, it's just so crazy, you know? I'm like, this is so awesome. And it's still in disbelief, you know what I mean? It's just like a constant like murmur of disbelief and everything. I've done it. And like, yeah, it's just so cool.
I even saw you were like learning all the instruments that they have over there.
Yes.
Which is so sick.
That was the first time. That was the first take when I picked up that drum.
Really?
That's why those reactions. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh!" It's like I grew up playing drums too, you know, drums, guitar, and all that.
Yeah.
So my rhythm's like, you know, good. So I just like picked it up and they were like, "Oh my gosh!" It was like two culture shocks. You know what I mean?
But it's also like what's cool about having Marshmallow is you can make a song that's in dubstep, you can make a song that's in pop, you can make a song that's in EDM. That has allowed for so much for you. What kind of genre is your favorite to make right now then?
Been really in like my trap wave, you know. Marshmallow's always been trap leaning, but you know, with this kind of like resurgence, underground resurgence, I would say trap is like underground, you know, it's like that.
Okay.
Underground, you know, because it's fun, it's like house, trap, you know, they just kind of do like a carousel. like ISO, and he's like definitely the king. And it just kind of like, that door cracked a little bit, and I'm obviously like familiar with that music, so I'm like, all right, let's try this again, I've been doing that and a lot of like speed rock, like speed house. Like I call speed house like anything above 130. It's not like working with Tommy and stuff. He comes around like so many genres. And we made our song fired up. But yeah, so I've been experimenting a lot with, the melodies of Marshmello, sounds of Marshmello, under some like, even like speed lo-fi house. I've really been.
That's
cool. Trying to get like creative.
Yes.
I love trap, and I got that EP out, and I was like really happy with that, and the response was really good, and from all the trap kids, from the Marshmello fans, everything. And those are my roots, and that's why I named it The Roots. Yeah. And I love it, so I'm gonna work on a second Roots project for sure.
Love that.
And I need to like just put out a Bad Bunny remix.
Yeah,
it's like, 132, 134, I forget. But it's like kind of a lot of like the Marshmello template, but with like, house drums like, put together and everything.
I was watching an old interview you did, and
Which one out of the 3 I've ever done?
I watched every single one.
Oh, okay, yeah. For a total of 10 minutes.
You wanted to do a song with Bad Bunny, and I mean, you kind of made it like with the remix, but.
Yeah, it's like, we've danced around in circles. Not like circles, like our social circles.
Yeah.
We've danced around, like we always run into each other, and stuff like that. So it's never officially happened. But, I was happy to do a little bootleg of BTMF, so. And like that's how that's where I would see like the Marshmello, kind of like, just call it 4 on the floor type, somewhere in that realm. I'm still working on it. I've been making a bunch of remixes and stuff.
Was this always the helmet?
Always. Just very, very significantly, the weights are very different from the first one to this one.
What do you mean by that?
So, first one had like, this was like perforated steel, like thick steel, like this good. Like, yeah, thick. It's like Kevlar and like, not cement, but like something crazy inside. The helmet was 14 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
But I was a young kid, invincible, with this new project, playing all these shows, living my dream out. I didn't feel that 14-pound helmet's cons until years later. And I said, you know what? I think we should maybe invest into something lighter. I really retired the weight of heavy-duty helmets with the lights. I used to have to wear like a CPU on the back, on my back. I would have this like waist trainer, like that wrapped around my stomach, and the big hit.
I saw the first show that you did, 2015.
Yeah.
And you could see them right there on stage. They look sick.
Yeah. And that was something that was like definitely, a point of like, not conflict, but kind of like debate within, my camp was like, yo man, the lights are awesome. It's like, yeah, but like my back and my spine and my joints and stuff, man, like I think I care more. And it took a while for me to really totally like, okay, I'm gonna stop doing the lights, I've thought about bringing them out for here, there, stuff like that, but I probably will in the future. But this is 2 pounds. Let me just start by saying, so 12 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
But the very, 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 very first helmet that I wore on the Hard Day of the Dead clip commercial thing, the first time Marshmello was ever seen, it was like a yoga mat that my manager found this dude on like Etsy or Craigslist or something. He's like, yo, this is like what we're thinking for a logo. Can you just like make this? Wait, I think I have it. Yeah, I might have it.
That's crazy if you do.
We'll see.
We will see.
That'd be cool to show.
That'd be crazy.
There is a picture on Billboard.
And there's the video.
And
of you using it. Were you like very receptive to putting that on your head at first, or was there like a lot of pushback? Even like, at the time you sound like you were living with your parents, were they like super receptive to it too?
when you tell your family, guys, we figured out the name. It's gonna be Marshmallow. They're like, what? What? I'm like, you gotta trust me. My manager's a genius, okay? I'm in good hands with him. I got the music, all this stuff down. I'm in good hands with my son. We're gonna make it happen. They're like, oh, they're so supportive. Okay, sounds good. Can't wait. A little initial apprehension, yes. I mean, but I saw it and I'm like, let's rock. Let's go. I'm in.
If you're watching this, there's a good chance you want to put out music, you already put out music, or know someone who puts out music. And what most people don't know, it was almost impossible to do that back in the day. In fact, Queen had to sell their van just to record their first album. It was impossible to put out music back in the day. And when I wanted to first put out music around 6 years ago, it felt so complicated and expensive, and I didn't know where to start. Well, that was until I found DistroKid. DistroKid is the actual music distribution platform that I've been using for years now. It is seamless, it is easy. You also are an independent artist, correct? Mm-hmm. And you've always been independent?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we license out to the label, you know, the rights to it, but I signed one album deal with Sony. So technically, yeah, you know what I mean? But no, I've never been signed to a term.
I mean, that's incredible.
It's crazy.
And
I gotta give props to my manager for that. I'm learning, but I'm not the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's the spectrum of the business guys and the creatives. You know what I mean?
I mean, some people might see the success and how not know everything in the past, and might see how quickly it happened, and assume certain things.
There are a lot of assumptions. Yeah.
What would you say to those people who have those assumptions?
Well, there's a bunch of different kinds. So, all from your perspective, what do you think is assumed about? We're talking about the ride. Mm-hmm. What would you think is assumed about all of that? Maybe I'm an industry plant.
There are some people out there who use that phrase.
For sure. I mean, of course. But number one, I feel like industry plants, you need a label behind you.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, there's no money behind when we were first starting.
Yeah.
Still living with our parents and stuff, man. So it was just we obviously had connections. I had a few blog homies, you know what I mean? My manager was I was on Bygor, working for Boardwalk, you know, so we had our friends there. That's it. I don't know what was going on in the universe that time, but for my Marshmallow music, uploading every day. My manager being who he is, how he thinks, how he sees people, he just knows, you know what I mean? Just reads it like a battlefield or something. He just knows how to move. That with the sound that I guess people didn't know they wanted it, I would assume. Just perfect storm. It's one of those perfect storm situations.
But it was also I think what you were saying earlier, the music connected a ton.
Yeah.
And also it was different than what people were doing right now, and it created this mystery of one, who is Marshmallow? Two, anyone can connect with Marshmallow.
Yeah.
And then also the marketing that you guys were doing was just crazy and smart.
Yeah. It's definitely I was just happy to be here, man. I got the helmet on. I'm happy with this. I'm just happy to be here, right? So I just didn't, in the beginning, didn't want to make it about. I just wanted everybody to be able to connect and not worry about, if I had a face and all this stuff, then I'm a person and you relate to me in a lot of good ways and a lot of bad ways. I wouldn't do that. I don't agree with what that person did. But with the mask and Marshmallow, and I got to always be happy and go lucky and you know what I mean, jovial.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing escape for me. And it just connected with so many people. It's just a vibe, honestly. You know what I mean? It was just the vibe of the project that I think people were attracted to. And it's kind of peculiar wearing a mask like this and seeing somebody wearing this play a big show. I kind of want to see what's up with that. Then you see the community and you see what people are saying, you know? And you're oh, I want to be a part of it. Like that was such an important thing that I was so grateful for. That's how I was in the beginning.
It's also very recognizable. If you see that, you remember it.
Yes.
As your song.
Yes.
But also, like, if the music didn't connect, then this never would have happened.
Yeah.
So it definitely comes from, like I'd say the music's probably like the predominating factor to really push it.
Yeah. I'd like to think so. Yeah, I mean, my piece of the pie. Just, I don't know, man. Like, I remember when I was kind of finding myself as a music artist, I remember I'd go on like Reddit and just go on like forums and see what other producers said. You know, something that I hope I don't misremember this, but I'm almost positive it was R.L. Brown said something like, I just kind of started making stuff that like sounded good to me without any like, I'm gonna make festival trap music. And so I boxed myself, and then I figured it out in that box, right? For me. But I read something, I'm pretty sure it was all Brown, and he was like, I just started making music until it like sounded cool to me. I didn't really know what it was. Like I didn't really have like a plan. And so once I started doing that, I know how to make trap. I know how to be very melodic. And at the time, Progressive House was so big. And I was like, what if I did this weird mix of like Jersey Club, like what Trippy Turtle was doing, and like trap, and with progressive house melodies, you know what I mean? Because I loved Alesso, I loved like just all those people from that era, you know, watching.
Do you guys remember the old stacking item meta?
These guys got their hands on the Switch 2 before anyone else. The YouTube channel Geeker1 was able to buy a complete logic board setup for the Switch 2 off of a Chinese equivalent of eBay. When you go check out their video, you'll see that even though the board is dead, so they can't boot up and play Mario Kart 7, they did a lot of cooler things with it. Scanning electron microscopes, PCB analysis, and even a GPU comparison test are featured in their analysis of what'll go into everyone's systems on June 5th. They found that it's based on a 8nm process from Samsung. It has 8 ARM A78C CPU cores and 1,536 GPU cores. If you slap this in a Windows PC, they found it'd perform about like a 1050 Ti when docked or a 750 Ti when handheld, which is a significant improvement from the original Switch, believe it or not. But I highly recommend you go watch the full Geeker1 video. It's worth it, and it's their first upload in over a year. Missed you guys. These guys got their hands on the Switch 2 before anyone else. The YouTube channel Geeker1 was able to buy a complete logic board setup for the Switch 2 off of a Chinese equivalent of eBay. When you go check out their video, you'll see that even though
AI art is boring. Let me explain. With how powerful image generators are nowadays, it would be easy enough to fool me to thinking AI art was actually something made by a person. But the second I learned that it wasn't made by a human, all interest immediately evaporates. Sure, the generated image might be nice to look at, but that's it. There's nothing else. There's no point questioning why a certain mark is in a certain place, because the answer is that the machine has ingested and churned together the culmination of thousands of years of human creativity, and statistically speaking, that mark is the most probable. And for me, that's just not that interesting. If you're not an artist, this might not be easy to understand. But as an analogy, consider watching a YouTuber. You watch this YouTuber struggle through numerous challenges before they finally manage to triumph. But how would you feel if it was all scripted, that nothing you were looking at was real? If you feel like it wouldn't quite be the same, then that's how I feel when I look at AI-generated artwork. AI art is boring. Let me explain. With how powerful image generators are,
I was hired to remove honeybees that were living 30 feet up in an avocado tree. Getting bees out of a cavity is no easy task. It can take hours or even weeks to get the queen to come out.
The BBs are starting to come out of the tree. They're using me as a landing post. Waiting on the queen. This is a very gentle colony. Hope the queen just walks right out.
All the bees started landing on my veil, making me think the queen must have flown out and landed on my head. I didn't see her, so I gave my veil a quick shake and got back to work. I started scooping the bees from the tree and sorting through them. If I don't find the queen, I won't be able to get the bees out of the tree. All of a sudden, all of the bees took flight into the sky, leaving the tree. I desperately didn't want to lose the queen. Since the bees were in flight, I quickly sealed up their entrance and headed down to the ground. When I got to the bottom of the ladder, there was a clump clump of bees gathering under a nearby trailer. That's when I knew they were gathering around their queen. Now that I have their queen, the rest of the bees started landing on my hand. I felt like I had all the honeybee superpowers, and now I can get these bees to go where I need them to. Once the bees gather into their new hive, I will bring them home to my apiary. I was hired to
Indie devs aren't taking over anything. How many indie games or AA studios create full flops? Even AAA failures get more reception than 99% of indie games. You're spreading fake hype over a rare win.
30 people made their first game ever together, most of them being junior developers. They found the composer that made their 8-hour soundtrack on SoundCloud. The game's story was written by someone they found on Reddit, and the product they made together is now shattering records. But sure, let's be careful about how much we praise it. We don't want to overhype it, right? Of course there's more indie studio flops. There's 10 times more indie studios than there are AAA studios. It's not a flex to say that when a AAA game flops, it makes a lot of money still. That's actually kind of proving my point. Like, realistically, if they go back to investors and just say a bunch of buzzwords,
we're using AI technology to create an open world battle royale extraction Souls-like microtransaction game with a super platinum gold early access edition for 5 easy installments of $29.95.
They get an Amazon box with a smiley face on it full of $100 bills. None of that exists here, dude. They just made a game they had faith in, and it worked.
Indie devs aren't taking over anything. How many indie games or AA studios?
We're going to cross the border. It's a safe haven.
If I use my second SSD slot, I lose half my onboard SATA ports. Yeah, if you're about to buy a new motherboard, look out for this very annoying trap. Motherboards only have a certain amount of bandwidth that they can allocate to other parts like expansion slots and ports. Take this MSI Tomahawk B550 board as an example, which is actually pretty good. If you look at the basic spec sheet on the manufacturer's website, it'll just show that you have 2 M.2 slots. But if you look at the details, here it says when installing devices in the second M.2 slot or PCIe slot, the second slot speeds will be limited to just 2 PCIe lanes. Or sometimes the spec sheet will say if you plug in a second NVMe SSD, you'll lose like your SATA 5 and SATA 6 ports. If you're the type of person that's going to utilize multiple drives, expansion slots, and accessories, I'd highly recommend looking at the manufacturer's spec sheet for this type of information. For an average gamer just using 1 GPU and 1 SSD though, you probably don't need to worry about this. If I use my second SSD,
I'm cooking all of my pregnancy cravings, except I'm a 26-year-old male who isn't pregnant, at least not that I know of. But I am starting to question everything because I've been having really strong cravings for very specific foods lately. Like the other night, I ate a jar of pickles while just dipping them into peanut butter. Another craving I've had recently is for some grilled steak lettuce wraps dipped into this Vietnamese dipping sauce that I absolutely love that's called Nuoc Mam. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but Nuoc Mam is a seasoned fish sauce that's sweet.
Melodic. And at the time, Progressive House was so big. And I was like, what if I did this weird mix of the Crazy Club, like what Trippy Turtle was doing, and like trap, and with Progressive House melodies, you know what I mean? Because I loved Alesso, I loved like just all those people from that era. You know, watching Ultra, Cruella was like such a big, Cruella was such a big inspiration to me, man. Like,
30 seconds until
just all those melodies and everything, just that whole era. I was like, oh, what if I just blended it all? Like, there's no box, really. I'm just gonna try to make it sound cool. I have nothing to lose, you know? And so, whatever kind of music I spat out during that first year, I guess people were like, yep, this is cool. And I'm just like thankful for that, so, crazy.
Over the last few years, I've sat down with some of the greatest minds in all of music, and they've told me stories and given me some of the best tips that changed my entire perspective on creating. And I'm looking to give that to you because I'm hoping that it can help you just as much as it helped me. My goal with Behind the Wall is to shine a light on the people stories behind music, movies, and media. It's to inspire the next generation of creatives, but it's also to create the platform that I wish I had when I first started making music, when I first started being creative, when I first started making videos. Behind the Wall has taught me so much on this journey, and I want to take these lessons that I've learned and help the next generation. So I put together 15 of the most important and impactful lessons that I've learned on my own journey from these people directly, from some of the greatest minds in all of music. People like Chris Martin of Coldplay, Benny Blanco, Ryan Tedder, Julia Michaels, Amy Allen, Bonnie McKee, Savin Kotecha, so many of the greatest minds in all of music, people that I had the pleasure and privilege of interviewing people like Ryan Tedder, who gave me one of the greatest pieces of advice that helped me on my own journey. People like Benny Blanco, who changed my entire perspective 6 years into making music. People like Marshmello, who taught me that as long as something sounds good to you, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And I'm looking to pass this knowledge on to you, which will be 15 lessons from the greatest minds in music, which will be in the description completely for free. And when you get this PDF, you'll also be granted access to our
So crazy, man. Like, I just met this person, all this stuff. Like, I'll be at the house, and he just like brought his friend. They would just like stay in the room, and his managers, I guess, would just take them around Coachella. So we bonded like a lot right there. And then he really blew up too. Like after that, like insane. Like Location really caught fire as a household song, radio. Good vibe, you know. Like everybody's rooting for like the young kid, you know. He's just amazing voice. You can't believe this. The album's 18. He made these songs when he was like 17.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And you're like, this kid sounds like this. Like it was just such a unique thing. And I was like, yo, man, I'm in the studio. Same studio I made alone. Small room, dude. Small room. Something called I forget the name. Lemon Tree Studios.
Okay.
It was in Ausla, because they were an imprint of Atlantic. You know what I mean? It was like an Atlantic. Like Blood Pop worked there. That was like his thing. But he bought his own room at the very end of this very small building. But he had like a huge room. And legend, Blood Pop.
Definitely.
Such a legend. I'm like, yo, dude, come through. And it comes with all of his homies in this small, tiny room. And everybody kind of like gets the hint, like, oh, this is a little too small. So everybody leaves, and it's just me and Khalid. And I'm playing through loops, you know what I mean? Just chords with like different sound textures, right? So pad, sometimes people like piano. I was still new to studio sessions. Like I remember my first few studio sessions, the A&R pulled me out. I was like, hey man, this is usually how studio sessions go. You have to like let people like, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I kind of got it down by then. You know, I was doing studio sessions for like 6-7 months at that point.
What did he pull you out about?
Like he didn't pull me out. We had like a break, and maybe I was being too overbearing or something. I forget what it was, or too like, I can't even remember. It was like 10 years ago, but he didn't like pull me out like, can I talk to you? Just kind of like, oh hey man, like this is usually how studio sessions go. I'm like, okay. So I knew like just come prepared with some loops, not like full EDM beats, you know what I mean? I'm cycling through loops. There was tiny little couch behind me. Literally like right where this table is. That's how small this room is. Alright? And the walls are probably halfway where that couch is from the wall. Right, so this tiny room.
Okay.
Padded over, great, like awesome speakers, stuff like that. He's like laying down, and he texted me and he's like, you know what, man? Like, I'm so busy, but like, you're my brother. I love you. I'm gonna cancel some shit. I'll be there. He's like, I'll come by. Like, 100%. So I'm like, amazing. So I don't, you know, with like really famous, busy people, you know, their intentions are good, but sometimes maybe they'll miss a studio session, whatever. So I wasn't really expecting much, but he came through, and he's laying sideways on the couch on his phone. I'm like, damn, like. He just showed up just like to be nice. Like maybe he doesn't want to make me. I didn't know what was going on. So I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play some whack ass horrible loop I know he doesn't want anything to do with. So I play it. And he's like, wait, go back to that other one. Because he's like laying on his phone. I'm like, he's like scrolling, you know? I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, I didn't even know you. He's like, yeah, go back to that one. What are you doing? I'm like, my bad. And no joke, plays for about 5 minutes. That whole time he was writing the full song on his phone. Didn't change the lyrics once. Sits up like this, lays up. I thought he was on like, you know, Instagram or something. Yeah. He sits up, comes like vertical, kind of scoots to the edge of the, just us two, by the way. Scoots to the edge of the couch, closes his eyes, sings the whole song.
No way.
Completely. We did the second verse later. Sings first verse, whole hook, didn't change a word. Didn't change a word, dude. Close his eyes, sang from the heart. If you look at the credits, producer Marshmello, writer Khalid Robinson.
That's incredible.
And then I was so inspired because I had a full beat to it.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I just knew that, like, I knew how the verse would sound with that, like, wompy, like, random serum patch where it was like, I found peace in you. You know what I mean? And I was like, dude, that hook is gonna go so good over this thing that I wrote, because I was just playing 8-bar loops for him, you know? I wasn't playing like full things. Oh, I just trust people. This would be so. How could you not be inspired by somebody doing that?
Yeah.
Like, dude, what? And so, I go back home, load his vocals up, produce Silence out full in 2.5 hours. Do you understand how hard it was for me to keep it that simple, but know that that's what was called for? You know what I mean?
How did you know that was what was called for?
Because that's what sounded good to me. I'm like, this is too simple, but it sounds good.
Yeah?
I'm like I said, like, I always felt like I had nothing to lose, you know? Because I was just so happy to just, like, even be playing just a bunch of shows.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do whatever I want. It's like 3 layers. I can't remember, like 1 bass layer, 1 sub. Like,
it sounds good.
It's such a bad sub. It's just so funny. It's just crazy.
Was that the first song that played on the radio for you?
Yes.
How did that feel?
So it was actually interesting because I got thrown into being Marshmallow. Like, I want out, all this stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, well, a lot of my peers are on the radio. You know what I mean? I'm like, I immediately have to go for radio. And that's what I thought. I was like, slaving, like, just in my studio, just like trying to say, okay, what are these guys doing? What are these guys doing? And nothing was coming. Because all of a sudden I put myself in that box that I always like told myself I wouldn't. I didn't feel like free. And after a while, after talking to, you know, a lot of like my peers that were really big, they're like, yo man, like, don't chase that. You want that to come as late as possible, as long as you have steam, you know what I mean? You don't want to jump right to the radio. Because then it's really hard to follow up with. You know, Chainsmokers did an insane job, you know? Follow, you know, crazy. And I felt pressed, personally. You know, I felt pressed to be up there with all these guys on the radio. But after a while, it's just like, you know, man, this isn't working. After a few kind of like, not like depressing months, but a lot of frustrating months, I couldn't get anything, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know how to maneuver. As soon as I let go of the reins of the box, Silence happened. And it just organically goes to the radio. You know what I mean? Like,
and also, like, the label or Khalid is pushing it to radio as well, while you can be an independent artist.
Yes. And that's how that went, man. And that was just crazy. And then we just toured. We did so much promo. I remember, like, there are these photos. He'll die at this story. There are these photos. It's so funny. There's like us in a tree house, like poking our heads out of the windows, like Three's Company or something, like, and we're like, yeah, those are good photos. Like, we were in Florida, where he's from, in the middle of like the jungle, like shooting content, and it was so hot, and like, it's just such a funny day. And we were like in the back of this SUV. I don't even think like the AC worked or something. We're like recording these liners. And he's new and I'm new, and it was just it's like those moments. Like, the age of promo is kind of like changing, you know what I mean? Like, post like the TikTok and just like whatever, you know what I mean? Like
push something, you know, catches on, and goes
viral. And then maybe you'll do promo. But like back in the day, promo was your best foot forward. You didn't have a gauge like TikTok. You didn't have these. Maybe you had some like social media stuff, SoundCloud metrics, stuff like that. But back in the day, you have a single, you're doubling down, you're 10 toes down on that single. You're gonna run promo. So a lot of the closest relationships I have with artists were from that pre-TikTok, whatever it was. I don't want to just say, oh, just TikTok, blah, 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 but whatever it was before that, those are all my like closest artist friends.
That's sick.
Yeah, and Khalid, we ran that back for Numb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song's great too.
Round 2's been doing really well. Kane Brown, I did One Thing Right and Miles on it. You know? The round 2s have been going really well, so I think I might continue. And Jonas Brothers has put out Slow Motion.
Yeah.
And Slow Motion, I really like. It's kind of like an ode to Friends, like the production style on Friends. It's like same tempo and like hip hop, and there's like scratches and stuff like that. I was like,
that song's great too.
Thank you. I was like really stoked about that.
How did Friends come about?
All right. Funny enough, talked about promo, talking about Silence. I was doing promo for Silence in the UK. Traveling around my day-to-day at the time. Bussing around to like all these like, okay, we got this MTV thing, we got this, you know, the age of promo, like that. And I'm just so tired, man. I had to jump the time zones, you know what I mean? And it's just crazy, you know, when you talk about oh yeah, I'll just flip time, you know, a lot of artists will just flip time zones for 2 days. Have to just suck it up, figure out your sleep, and then go right back to the US or wherever they came from. I was feeling like that. Feeling very just very lethargic, tired. And they're like, yo, after all your stuff, there's a session with Anne-Marie. And I've told her this too, so I can say it. No feelings will get hurt. I'm like, I knew Anne-Marie, she was awesome. I was just so tired, and you know, you have weak moments, you know what I mean, sometimes, where maybe you're, that night I was like, no, I don't want to do a session, I'm too tired. But I'm thinking what am I doing? My whole mentality of this marshmallow thing was do the stuff that you know, your peers or other people wouldn't do. They're sane enough not to. You know, not that going to the studio at 9 p.m. in London was crazy after a day of promo. It came from the same spot. Dude, push yourself, man. Yeah. You have to. Why are you here? You know. And so I'm you know, that's fine, cool. So pull up. I have this guitar loop. Back when Splice was new, and it was Prime. A lot of producers know Prime loops. It was some of the OG loops. You know, Looper, what is it? Loop Masters, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Whatever. Got this little guitar thing. Meet Anne-Marie and Nat Dunn. Nat Dunn's an absolute legend as well. They were, I'm not sure if they're still writing parties, but they were writing parties back then, from what I understood. And I have this loop. You know, it's funny, I wasn't really tempo oriented back then. Now I have to be mindful of tempo, you know what I mean? If it's 90, it's gonna be some sort of, you know, trappy, twerk-esque, you know what I mean, drums, you know, happier I would even call twerk drums, you know what I mean? Because if you just strip all that out, it's it's almost breakbeat or something, it's with claps and all this stuff, so, but whatever, it was 95 with this loop, and play it for her, boom, right then and there, she's talking about, you know, let's write a song about the guys, people that can't take a hint, you know, we're just friends, and at me, I'm at this point, I'm totally removed from writing. I'm yo, I'm just here for the music, you do your thing, you know, and artist writing is the best. I love writing with artists. It's so different. Me and my, all my writing homies, actually my real homies, we always joke okay guys, are we gonna do a songwriting song, or are we gonna do an artist writing song? Because artists think differently, they can get away with more, you know what I mean? Songwriters are well, we already said back, so we have to do it, but we can't write. And I'm guys, go listen to Yellow Lead Better by Pearl Jam. There might be a few words, it's just mumbles and top the charts. It's this insane thing. Anyways, so Anne-Marie's writing artist style, you know what I mean? She just has her hand in. Crazy concept, all this stuff. And so we write that, and I'm so tired, I don't really understand what I have until the next morning. And I'm on my laptop, and we're running around all the promo, and I'm making this song. I'm so inspired. I'm making this song, because at the time, I don't think I ever did a 95 BPM Marshmallow song. You know what I mean? Maybe one. Anyways, so I'm just making this thing in the back of this van. Me and my day-to-day traveling around London. And life then was if somebody took your head and just shook it constantly. That's how life felt back then. You can't really get a grip. You know where you are. You can kind of see, but you can't really you know what I mean? You can't really just stop for a second and be oh, okay, this is what my life is going. I just going. I didn't realize what I had, so I got back to my apartment in North Hollywood, and I sit there and I hear friends that I put on my laptop speakers, all that stuff. I'm okay, all right, something's here. Spent that day, and then it came down to the bridge. And this is the perfect example of how I was feeling about making music at the time. You know, there's trap elements in Friends, but I got to the bridge, and I was wouldn't it be funny if I did this West Coast thing with the bow wow and the on the pitch bend on the, you know, little triangle or square, whatever wave that is. And I did it because there's no rules. For me, I was I can do whatever I want. And So I have this whole song with like acoustic guitar and trap drums and like horns. In the chorus, there's like, it's like for no reason, but it just sounded cool. It's like, what's happening in this song? It's ridiculous. And then I was like, you know what, just double down, West Coast for no reason, West Coast Bridge. And everybody was like, my team was like, yes. We don't know why, but yes, that's why. And we did that. I did that. Maybe finished it that day. I think that one I chipped out a little bit longer, but no more than like a week or whatever. Yeah. And so then I was like, yo, Anne-Marie, like, we're going to become friends. No pun intended. I was like, I know how promo goes. We're going to be doing this a lot. And we, you know, went and did promo around the world and got super close.
Amazing.
Crazy.
You did do a lot of promo there. There's a ton of interviews that you were silent. No pun intended for Khalid.
Yeah.
And I saw an interview you did with Ryan Seacrest, with Anne-Marie, Ryan Seacrest, and Ryan Seacrest says to you, which artist are you excited about any of the song, about like an artist that you're working with, that you're collaborating with? And you say Bastille. And his reaction was, really? And which is really interesting. I love Bastille.
I love Bastille.
So phenomenal, like incredible vocals. Some of like in my opinion, one of the most underrated bands today. And his reaction being like, really? And I don't think anyone could have. Also, like Bastille has one of the best covers any song ever. We Can't Stop Miley Cyrus.
Oh yeah, he's such a beast. I missed him.
Like at the time, Bastille, like it's been a bit since they had a hit. What made you want to work with Bastille, and how did Happier come about?
All right, Happier is also just very, just like the universe, it's like dropping things like in your lap. You know what I mean? I decided to take a break, right? A break for me back then, a long break for me back then was like 5 days, right? So I go to like Hawaii with my friends. We're all chilling there. And, you know, we're partying a lot, and I come back into the room, take a breather, maybe take a shower, I forget what it was. I open my laptop, and there's a demo in my email from my manager. And my manager, you know, I never had a label, no A&R or anything. Right? So my manager, not every time, but he'll send a lot of stuff through, and then it'll click for him, and then it has to click for me, and then that's, you know what I mean? So I get sent this thing, he's like, hey, this sounds pretty cool. And it was Happier, but nothing even remotely close to what you hear now.
Interesting.
Yeah, Steve Mack produced it.
Shout out.
Legend.
Wow.
Steve, I'll see you soon. Yeah, insane. So he sent this over. He's like, this is a very important song to me. You know, and Dan was singing it, and I was like, oh my gosh, Bastille, insane. You know, and a lot of the times, like, it's kind of like, someone's like, remember that show That's So Raven?
Yeah, of course.
And she kind of stares off, and she's like, and she like comes back. That's like a dramatic thing, but with a lot of these songs, when I get demos, it's like, I just kind of stare off, and I'm like, I was like, I know exactly what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do it when I get home. I close my laptop, went back home. So this is insane. I was like, the structure's wrong, like in my head. But I'm gonna, you know, I'll figure it out when I get home. I'm supposed to be relaxed and have my time. Right? So, close my laptop, don't open it until I get back to this house. And I'm moving in here. Nothing loud, but except for my little studio. It's like echoey, it's like just the worst. For making music, you know, echo, you know, stuff like that. Tiny little room downstairs. And I sit there, I strip every single thing off of it. I don't think I use one element. Just vocals, which is what I do for like a lot of demos, and we can talk about some other songs, but I stripped it completely, just had this vocal from Dan, which is like, you get to listen to it a cappella. You're like, this is an amazing song. Like, his voice is just so good, you don't need the instruments. I'm like, so much of the heavy weight being pulled is from Dan's voice. He's a monster. And I sit there and I'm going through samples and stuff, and you know, a lot of times, like, I'll listen to samples, but the first two chords of a sample will be like, oh, I like those, oh, but those last two ones, you know, they aren't right. Or, oh, that middle chord's wrong. then I'll just like redo it. You know what I mean? There's like you can like plug samples into like MIDI analyzers. Back in the day, it wasn't that good. So I kind of had to learn. This was during the moment, like with my piano, like we talked about. Like I wasn't really too savvy with chords, right? Like I am now. And so I was like, you know, really like drawing them out. You know, drawing these chords out. And I was changing a lot of the chords and just using the sample for it. Anyways, came up with this chord progression I really liked. The first time I ever made was that weird, like slow attack, all the way wet reverb piano in the beginning of Happier. There's like this weird, like, you know, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, that's it. Like, it's such a relief. I'm like, I didn't have anything else, just those chords. It's like, just that alone, like, I feel like I can't lose. I was like, I feel like I can't lose it. Happier took like 6 months, dude.
Really?
5 months. Which goes against everything that I did before, being like, you know, a hit comes by real quick and you know it and you finish it and it's done. But Happier, I wanted to get a little bit more intensive, you know, like strings and a lot of stuff. So I remember just sitting around chipping away at it. And the funniest thing, the most ironic thing, how simple is that Happier melody? It's like right at their silence. It's like, what is this melody? That took me so long to realize. Oh, it's that simple. It's like a riddle, dude. Like solving a riddle. You're like, oh, duh. This whole time I was like, you know what I mean? Yeah. With like riddles, it's like Tuesday doesn't mean Tuesday today. It was actually this, and you're like, of course. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. That's how it felt for Happy with that melody. Everything else, I knew the drum, you know what I mean? I wish the laptop would only give me fixed right now, but there's like so many iterations. There's like Happier V1 to like 25, you know what I mean? And I finally got it. And you know what's so funny about the bridge? Those guitars are like just simple, like, I don't know, the Vengeance or what it was. I put that in just to send to my team as a placeholder. Like, I'm gonna figure out what to do on the bridge. I didn't tell them that. I was just like, yo, here's what I have. They're cool, done, song's done, that's it. And I was like, the bridge is cool too? They're like, yeah, it's awesome. The dun, 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 like those guitars. And I've always liked guitars like we talked about. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, okay. I was like, okay, I guess that's the song then. I'm just not gonna touch it. If everybody says it's good, I think it's good, I'm just not gonna touch it. And that was also like a big thing about like producing is like, there's like honestly a lot of mess ups, wrong, stuff like that in my songs. That I just leave in because I'm like, whatever, sounds cool, sounds fine. Like it adds a little like character.
And human.
Yeah, and human, I guess, right? But that was like one of those things where it's like, I could have really gone in on that bridge and like, who knows what it would have came out. Because I was like really into bridges back then. You know, and how much can I flip this song on the bridge? With like the West Coast thing with Emery and stuff like that. So like, I'll just throw these guitars in and just send it out and then I'll fix it later. They were like, no, this is perfect. I was like, all right, screw it. It's perfect. You know what I mean? So just left that there, man. And then if I thought my life was a blur before that, that Happier run, just during that whole thing. I can't believe they let me wear such skinny pants, man. That's criminal. Criminally skinny pants. I should have been stripped of my career. What was I thinking?
Nostalgia. There.
I look like, I don't even know, dude. I look like the 35-year-old still hangs out at the skate park.
Nothing wrong.
With my big high tops and like so skin tight, but they weren't even like flex denim, dude. These were like real denim. Like, I don't know. That was a crazy move.
Yeah, that song hit number 2 on Billboard.
Number 2, yeah.
Was that like the song that really kind of changed? There's like Alone was the song that kind of catapulted you into the spotlight. Was that the one that kind of pushed you into mainstream and stuff?
I would say Silence Wolves, the singer, and what's it called? Silence Wolves and Happier. Friend. That was like, who is this guy?
Oh, okay.
And they're like, okay, one song, that's fine. Then Wolves came before Friends, I think. Oh, I forget it. Pretty sure Wolves when it came before. I forget. Anyways, Okay, he did it with Wolf. All right, 2. That's fine. Give it to like the helmet guy. Then 3. Then Happier, they're like, he has the juice. You know what I mean? And you know what's so funny about that? All those songs are solo produced, except for my boy Andrew Watt on Wolves. Shout out Mr. Andrew Watt, dude.
Legend.
Me and that guy, man, we hung out so much back then. Like he had this house in Hollywood right here, or in Beverly Hills, and he like was renting it, and I'm like, you're renting this? What is this studio down here, dude? He's like building into the house, like building a studio. I'm like, dude, but you're renting, aren't you? He's like, who cares? It's like we're making magic down here, man. Like, who cares? It's like mattresses on the floor, like chairs, like a drum set, all this stuff. Me and Andrew just like cranking out. Like I remember we like sampled a vacuum. We were working upstairs in the. He'll remember this too. We were working upstairs in his living room, and there's somebody cleaning the house. We're working on like I think it was like an Icona Pop song, and the person throws on the vacuum, and it hits the note of the song. We didn't know it was coming. We're just working. We both look at each other. We're like, oh my God. It's like, wait, turn it back on. So we like voice memo it and like throw it in the song. Like, I think we used it as like a riser or something.
Which song was that?
It didn't come out.
Got it. That'd been crazy.
Yeah. Me and Andrew have some crazy songs, man. Crazy songs.
The time when you were working with Andrew, is that how Wolves came about?
Yeah. Andrew reached out to me and was like, Andrew's a really smart guy, I'm sure, yeah, as you know. Very, 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 very smart. And he just knows. He knows music, he knows the industry, he just knows everybody. And he's like, okay, I guess he was sold on the Marshmallow thing. So he's like, hey man, got this song, Wolves, and would love for you to do your thing on it. And I remember feeling a little bit nervous because like I'm like, this is like the big dogs.
Yeah.
Like, what if I can't get it?
A client brought his work boots and asked me to bring them back to life. When I saw them, I gave him 2 options. One budget-friendly, and the other a bit more expensive. The thing is, the boots were originally stitched, but the welt was too damaged and would need to be replaced, which is usually quite costly. In the end, it would have made more sense for him to just buy a new pair. Still, I left the option open in case he wanted to go that route. For obvious reasons, the client chose the more affordable option. I'd love for you to try and guess in the comments how much I charged him once you see the final result. Honestly, it was a lot of work. The boots were in such bad condition that I couldn't just start by washing them like I usually do. In this case, I had to strip off the paint because they were in such rough shape that a simple cleaning wasn't enough. That's why you saw me scrubbing them with a chemical solution, to remove all the grime and buildup. As for the soles, I'm not just gluing them on with 2 different types of strong adhesives, I'm also reinforcing them with nails. Now, this last step isn't really necessary, because with the glues I use, it's almost impossible for the soles to come off, but I like to go the extra mile. And before you try to guess in the comments how much I charge the client, I should also mention that I added a layer of tough toe protector to the boots. The client works in construction, and because of the boot's design, that extra protection on the toe area was a smart addition. In the video description and the pinned comment, I'll leave a couple of Amazon links for the exact products I use, including the creams I apply for the final finish. I always see people asking about them in the comments, and I'm not trying to keep any secrets here. So if you've got soles coming apart or something similar, you'll find the same products I use right there. The main goal of these videos is to help you learn about the work a cobbler does. That's why I try to show every step and all the products I use, so that one day, if you run into trouble with your own shoes, you'll be able to fix them yourself. So if you learned even a little something you didn't know before, I'd really appreciate it if you could give the video a like, drop a comment, or subscribe to the channel so my content can reach more people. I'd be super grateful. Alright friends, I hope you enjoyed the video. I don't usually make them this long, but sometimes there's just so much I want to show you that it's impossible to fit it all into a 1-minute video. So I hope you like this longer version, and let me know in the comments if you prefer videos like this or something a bit shorter. And now, here's how the boots turned out in the end. For those of you who are trying to guess in the comments, I charged the client $105. See you next time. A client brought his work boots and asked me to bring them back to life. When I saw them, I gave
Look, Irie, I was watching some of your chat before you got started, and you said, what is ship made out of? You said it was made out of boat, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're wrong. It's made out of cheese.
Doesn't that let water through? Isn't that boat gonna sink?
Okay, then that's the same logic of why SpongeBob doesn't sink. He's like underwater cheese when you look at it.
I mean, but he
From a
does
certain
sink.
point of view.
He's at the bottom of the ocean. He's like all the way down there.
No, he's like, he doesn't sink. He's swimming down. There's a difference, Miss Ivy. There's a difference. Look, Irie, I was watching some of your chat.
Here's how to build a little Lego duck using only pieces from this set. So if you know your Lego history, you probably recognize this super classic duck design, but I think they need a little friend. So we're gonna build them using these bricks. Let's start with the body, a 2x2 brick, and then we're gonna put a 2x2 sloped brick on the side. This piece is called a bracket, and it's gonna pop right on the back there so that we can add this 2x2 sloped brick to be the tail feathers. Our duck needs to see, so let's add a stud-on side brick right on top of the beak, and then we can add its little eyes. And of course, a duck's gotta waddle, so let's add 2 round plates on the bottom. And now our classic Lego duck has a little friend. Here's how to build a little Lego duck using only pieces from this set. So if you know your Lego history, you probably recognize this super classic duck design, but I think they need a little friend. So we're gonna build them using these bricks. Let's start with the body, a 2x2 brick, and then we're gonna put a 2x2 sloped brick on the side. This piece is called a bracket, and it's gonna pop right on the back there so that we can add this 2x2 sloped brick to be the tail feathers. Our duck needs to see, so let's add a stud-on side brick right on top of the beak, and then we...
Dude, wake up, dude. You're gonna hit that car. Huh? Oh my god. Jesus. What are you doing, dude? You could have killed us. I'm sorry, man. I'm just really tired. Are you kidding me, dude? This isn't a joke. Stop the car. No. Why not? Well, the brakes don't work. You're kidding me. Nope. Can you not just pull the e-brake? I mean, I could, but that'll mess up my car. And I want to keep going. Wait, where are we going? Well, nowhere. And I'm taking you with me. Okay, but no, stop, dude. I want to go somewhere, and this is not how you get there. Okay, man. I mean, if you don't want to come, just get out. Dude, the car is moving. All right, then it looks like you're coming with me. No, dude, I don't want to go with you. Just let me out. All right, dude, you got to chill out, okay? Everything's going to be fine. Let me just, throw on some music. Jesus Christ, what is your problem, dude? Did I do something to you? No, it's not personal, my friend. Then why are you doing this? I already told you, I have no direction. I'm just going until I find something. But I do have direction, so why do I have to waste my time with you? I mean, you don't. Okay, but you won't let me out. But I'm not personally stopping you from getting out. Well, yeah, but you won't stop the car. And after all, you are still my friend. Like, I can't just leave you in here. Look, man, if I want to get out, I will. But I don't want to, so I'm not going to stop the car. And if you wait for me to stop the car, you're never going to get out because it's not going to happen. And you'll be stuck in here forever. You'll never get where you want to go. So what, dude? What am I supposed to do? Get out? I mean, you can't force me to come with you, and if you keep waiting for perfect conditions, you'll never start. Because starting is the perfect condition. So go, dude. Get out of the car. I'm gonna miss you, man. Dude, wake up, dude. You're gonna hit that car. Huh? Oh. Dude, wake up, dude. You're gonna hit that car. Huh? Oh my god.
And two things: racial identity and obedience. Maybe a modicum of cruelty as well.
Yeah, well, that comes along for the ride.
It comes along for the ride eventually.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the young Germans were actually inspired because they thought it was going to be good for the worker. They were inspired by the socialism part of National Socialism, and that it was going to be good for Germany. And they loved their country and they wanted to see it great. And so they were swept up, the Hitler Youth were swept up to get into this. But it's the same program. there's a game. We used to be the masters of the game, but now we've been dispossessed from the game. They threw us from top to bottom. That was an intolerable experience. By the way, this is all the story of Lucifer.
Yes.
We've been cast to the bottom.
Yes.
And so what we're going to do now is we're
one.
going to grab our
Religious.
rightful inheritance, and we're going to build the structure that returns us to it. P.S. The organizational structure is the Furrer principle, so I'm at the top.
Okay, so I want to talk about
Lucifer.
this Lucifer idea.
Yes.
So Lucifer
King.
is the
Fallen
morning
angel.
star, and
Oh.
he's the angel of the untrammeled intellect.
Yes.
That's how he's portrayed.
Thank God. We were so close to getting something interesting actually said, but now, yes, religious allegory. Or is it true? Or is it metaphorical? Or is it nonfiction? Who the fuck knows? The listeners sure don't, because Jordan will never tell us.
Traded Milton, right? And he's allied in some strange way with the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
If I might
Yes.
just interject, if he's the morning star, what do you do in the morning after the morning
Masturbate.
star rises?
Pee. Kill your
wake up.
wife. Oh.
Right.
Woke.
Right.
Oh! Oh my God, he figured it out.
You wake up.
Right.
Woke.
Right. The spirit of enlightenment. Right. Okay, so in
Or dark enlightenment, as it were.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What?
Right, absolutely. Well, that's the question. What's the difference between genuine? What's the difference between what's genuine and what's false, let's say?
Yes.
So in the story of Genesis, God tells
That was
Adam
so
and Eve
deep.
that they
Holy
can
shit.
pretty much have free reign, except for one thing. They can't, as far as I can tell, what it means is they can't take the right to define the moral order to themselves. They have to abide by the moral order, that there's an intrinsic moral order that's grounded below nature, even grounded in the principle of being itself.
Sure.
They have to ally themselves with that. But Eve, interestingly, Eve is tempted by the serpent. Maybe her powers of discrimination are somewhat lacking. Maybe her
Because women are tricked
proclivity
by
to empathy
sociopaths.
clouds her.
Yes. Weak woman.
And maybe it's a form of feminine pride. In any case, the
form of feminine pride. Eve taking the apple was actually toxic femininity on full display. Bad Girls is actually a Luciferian film about women's proclivity to destroying everything.
serpent tempts her, telling her that if she ate of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that she would become like God, which is the one thing God forbade, right? So the idea seems to be something like, the more radical the revolutionary precept, the more likely something Luciferian is behind it. So it's a serpent in the garden, so it's clearly something poisonous, but then it gets weirdly associated with the idea of Lucifer, right? Which is a very strange leap. The leap is something.
I love that it's Peterson of all people being swept up into supporting a fascist regime and not being able to realize it, considering he talked about the Germans and Nazi Germany so much. Actually, in a very weird way, we can understand that because, in a way, Jordan Peterson fell a little bit into the trap, or helped create the trap, that James Lindsay was kind of describing in the very beginning of this podcast, or whatever, this episode, where Lindsay was talking about the idea of creating a second language using the words of the first language. And what's something that conservatives, for whatever fucking reason, have been trying to do forever, and it's relabeling Nazism, National Socialism, as a left-wing socialist movement. And as long as Nazis are left-wing and socialist, then that means that conservatives, you literally don't even have to look out for it. Why the fuck would I have to worry about Trump or MAGA or anything on the right becoming Nazi? They're literally left-wing, right? Because of that, the relabeling of all of that, the obsession with trying to make that a left-wing movement instead.
Like, what's the most poisonous of all possible serpents, right? So then it becomes a meta principle. And it looks to me like it's something like the drive to power. And that fits well with the notion that, well, Marx would be on top of the communists, and Hitler would be on top of the Nazis, and Mussolini would be top of the Italian fascists.
Yeah.
So if the belief system is pressed into the service of the hierarchical status of its originators, then there tends to be something profoundly Luciferian behind it. Yes?
Yes. So now we're talking at a very abstract, deep, whether metaphysical is, I think metaphysical is the right word, level for what represents woke. This isn't going to be recognizable to your average Joe on the street who's dealing with, a pride parade and saying, well, that's woke. I understand woke. But
and they are called pride parades.
They are called pride parades.
And the cardinal sin of Lucifer is pride.
Is pride.
Right.
Shit.
And it's a desire to replace God, to replace the fundamental moral order. So I figured something else out too recently. So
God, G-O-D. And what's the problem with the left? They have multiple gods, G-O-D-S, gods, God's gaze, LGBT, 4. It's always the 4 letters. 4 years, Biden, okay? Careful.
Imagine that you could found a society on power, because you can, at least for a short period of time. And imagine that you could organize a group of people hedonistically as well. So that would be the real dark side of populism, right? We'll just have the government give people, it's like Pleasure Island in the Pinocchio video, right? Bread and circuses. You can get away with that for a while. Power, hedonism. You can abandon everything and sink into a pit of nihilism. That's not very effective psychologically or socially. But then that begs the question that the postmodernists wrecked their ship on, I would say. Is there a unifying principle, a high order unifying principle? That's the meta-narrative idea, right? Because the cardinal proclamation of postmodernism is that there's no pinnacle meta-narrative. There's no upper union. But I think that's wrong. I think that the principle of voluntary self-sacrifice is foundational. And I think that's the narrative that runs through the biblical corpus.
Right? You've given very, very eloquent speeches on that.
Well, and so then we would have a dynamic where because we're trying to figure out how to identify the Luciferian players, let's say.
Exactly.
That seems reasonable, right? So they're in love with the creations of their own intellect, but that intellect is not serving the principle of voluntary self-sacrifice. It's serving the principle of power. You remember in the gospel account, when Christ is in the desert, the third temptation that Satan lays before him is the temptation of power.
That's right.
Right.
Everything that you see before you.
Yes.
Matthew 4.
If you follow me.
That's right.
Right. So that seemed, okay, so you don't have any problem with the underlying dynamic of that
No, not at all. No, not at all. And I see, a fruitful discussion because, this is, of course, very high order thinking and expressing.
High level shit, guys.
But the experience for people on the ground is exactly what we were mentioning earlier. It's those traits of the dark tetrad, like Machiavellianism and all of this. So they're going to experience, what does that look like in everyday experience? The swarms on social media, the cancel
the woke
culture.
Mobs, Ellie fingering that one chick with her dirty fingernails, trans people in video games,
struggle session, this kind of stuff, the lying and the manipulation,
the cries of victimization,
the gaslighting, and is the it's called sometimes DARVO, deny, attack,
Darvoing,
reverse the roles of victim and offender.
High school women,
when you catch a
how do we go from all of this analysis to the people on Twitter? Are we just ignoring the entire state of affairs across the entire planet right now? In 2025, Donald Trump, his chief of staff is talking about suspending habeas corpus. They're deporting people with no due process. Sometimes this includes U.S. citizens. We've made an enemy of the entire world. The president has unilaterally passed tariffs higher than in any point in U.S. history. We've made enemies of both of our neighbors. We've blown up the only trade deal that he took credit for, which was the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. We're on the verge of wars with like 3 different countries. We're talking about conquering things from allies. India, But anyway, so these girls, they use the term DARVO, by the way, which is Luciferian in nature.
Psychopath out. They do it's an acronym DARVO. They deny that
there's a number of people operating like that
that's right.
at the moment.
It's everywhere. And so these are the experiences. So the expression that I could give to tie people, just to bring woke right back to the conversation, is we're familiar now with the machinations of woke left, right? And what I would say is, well, what's woke right is same energy, different direction. You have all of those same
can
exact,
daisy chain
whether
these together,
it's
is that true?
Luciferian at the high level, whether it's struggle sessions, Machiavellianism,
Well, we've got a
sadism at the low
hierarchy
level.
there. It's like it's Luciferian at the core. Then we've got the cluster B dark tetrad traits. Then there's the mechanisms
That's right,
you
that's right.
described, right? So that's a differentiated. Then that gives us a way of identifying.
So if we
it
use
too.
the kind of, pop word of the day of, vibes or energy, it's same energy, different direction. And this is exactly like what I was already saying with Marx versus fascism, or communism versus fascism. And we could go as weirdly deep as you want. There's a few ways to get to it. Like you say, well, obviously communism's kind of the arch progressive ideology, but I would disagree. It's probably fascism, but differently. Communism was actually obsessed. If you read Marx, he's obsessed. What was this? Well, the quote: positive transcendence of private property is human self-estrangement, and therefore a complete return of man.
Return to monkey.
To what? His real true self. It's obsessed with state of nature. It's obsessed with, we've been alienated all the way back to the beginning. For him, private property marks the fall. So the serpent came along and didn't offer an apple, but offered the fundamental right to exclude
Which was
private
capitalist property.
But you have the same general concept. So they're obsessed with looking all the way back to the state of nature.
Well, and that is also an unbelievably effective move on the psychopathic side, because the basic criminal attitude is, and I've dealt with criminal types quite a lot, it's pretty straightforward.
It's practice.
It's perfectly fine for me to take what you have because you took it.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And
that's
so
exactly
Marx has just nailed that perfectly.
That's exactly what it is.
Property is theft. As soon as property is theft, the criminal is the moral agent. And that happened in the Soviet Union, right? Because in the prisons, the criminals were treated as moral agents, whereas the political prisoners were treated as, what would you say? The kinds of heretics who deserved nothing but the longest possible sentence of death. Right. Because the criminals were victims. If property is theft, criminals are victims. That's a hell of a satisfying outcome for the criminals.
That's right. And so what you have in that same paragraph, so you have Marx saying that,
just as a heads up, remember, so that you guys don't ever sound like fucking retards, that the quickest and easiest way to figure out if somebody is totally lying about even pretending to have the slightest understanding of socialism or communism or Marxism or whatever the fuck, private property is not personal property. Private property refers to capital, and personal property refers to things that an individual might personally keep. These are two different things. That's not the same thing.
what we're going to do is get back to our state of nature. But we're not going to go back. It's not going back. He's just discussed Babeuf and the failure of the French Revolution commune model. That it was all low end. It was, grubby. It was dirty. They had no high culture. They had not, same as Hitler's interest, no high culture. He says this is wrong. We're going to have a transcendence. So we're not going to go back to state of nature. We're going to transcend. And all he's doing is rehashing Rousseau, which had passed through Hegel and Schiller. And what Rousseau had said is we need to be, because he wanted to live a free libertine lifestyle, not liberal, but libertine, but he liked being a citizen, didn't he? And so he wanted savages made to live in cities. That's, in the French, but that's what he literally called them. Savages.
If personal property appreciated, would it become private property? I don't know if personal property, I don't know if that can appreciate under the labor theory of value. Where would the appreciation come from, actually? I'm so curious. I don't know how that would be explained in a Marxist sense. I'm not actually sure.
Is made to live in cities. That's the completion of man, the omega of man. Alpha of man is the primitive communist. The omega of man is when you reach the point where you have the same sharing attitude and liberated lifestyle as the beginning, but now you have all the high culture and benefits of all the production in between. So it's a perfectly paradoxical and impossible thing, but Marx calls it the riddle of history solved that knows itself to be its own solution.
What does the future hold for business?
Jesus
one source is looking to streamline, even speaking of JB,
and so that's
JBP.
Also, the name of this show is When the Right Goes Too Far. It feels like that's where we started. I feel like we've spent the majority of the time still shitting on the left, though. But, who knows? Maybe we'll get somewhere else. Let's find out.
And so that's
the
alpha and the omega.
So that libertine offering is an interesting twist I've been trying to puzzle out. I wrote this article with Jonathan Pajot on the Scarlet Beast of the Apocalypse. And it was really illuminating to me. There's lots of the book of Revelation I just don't understand, me and many other people. But I understand some of it. So the Scarlet Beast is the degenerate state. So imagine that when a uniting principle disappears, so that would be the Nietzschean death of God, you get the postmodern condition, which is that there's no uniting narrative. And so the state grows a lot of different heads. It's kind of a hydra now. It's collapsing into chaos, symbolically speaking. It has a lot of different heads.
Yeah, it's the personal property that appreciates money. In Marx, the labor theory of value is a transformation that is supposed to show you where all the value of everything in society comes from. And it does that by relating labor, capital, and natural resources. And labor, it's labor, right? It's labor, natural resources, capital, and is profit in there? Or do you derive profit from it somehow? But I don't know how you deal with just a thing appreciating on its own without any additional labor or... Yeah, without any additional labor, I don't know how that's accounted for in a Marxist. I don't know for like labor theory value. I'm not asking how does your I know in real economics how it appreciates in value. I don't know in Marxist economics how they account for that. I don't know. Why we can actually fuck. How does labor theory of value account for appreciation in personal property value? There's no shot I'm getting an answer to this. No, okay. Oh, that might be true, actually. Value is not the same thing as price. Those things can become disjointed. I don't remember how they account for that, what all that looks like, or if there's a transformation between value and price ultimately, but...
Heads, because nothing's uniting it. And that's why it's blood red, because that's a very dangerous condition. It's a fragmenting condition. Okay, so that's the Scarlet Beast of the degenerate state. This is a symbol of the end of times. And I don't mean...
Some of my most popular videos are me talking about items I believe are underpowered or outdated, but some people think this means that I hate these items, which is just not true. So let's talk about some items I personally love. First off, Swifties. Oh my god, these boots are awesome. If you can build these on any champ, it's so much more fun. Jin, Smolder, Kaisa, hell, I built them on Garen from time to time. They're just awesome. IE is also one of my favorites, mainly just because it's so funny going from doing like okay damage to just fucking eating a champion alive and watching them melt. There is no other item like IE. Same with Stridebreaker. Oh, how I long for the Season 10 Stridebreaker again. The little dash and the massive slow was just peak. But current Stridebreaker is still super fun with its AoE and slow despite being just objectively less cool. And finally, Rabadons. Rabadons will never not be awesome. It's literally just more damage. If you are a mage, you just hit the problem harder. Plain and simple, no nuance passives, just straight up boom. And for that, it does a damn good job. Comment down below what your favorite item is. Some of my most popular videos are me talking about items I believe are underpowered or outdated.
We'll probably never really know the damage done by them, but one of the biggest roadblocks for PC cooling just collapsed. In case you've ever noticed that PC water coolers all kind of look the same like generic SUVs in the USA, that's thanks to this company, Asetek. They patented their tech in their coolers that made the water spin round and round, and they enforced that patent, suing companies that tried to use a simple impeller pump, forcing others to kowtow and pay a tributary license, and generally creating a lot of ill will in the cooling scene. But now, as of this week, that patent has officially expired, so companies can start utilizing and implementing and upgrading this design more easily. But it's also spelling bad news for Asetek. They've already had money troubles recently, but this was one of the last things they had going for them, besides their sim racing gear. Allegedly, a cooling company is looking to buy out Asetek's water cooling division to help save them. We'll see if they'll survive long enough to complete that. We'll probably never really know the damage done by them, but one of the biggest road...
I'm gonna bruise from that, Bitsy.
You bruise easy.
What I mean, find the line. That mama's warm biscuits. Ooh. Your mama does have the best warm biscuits. Hey, you shut your mouth, all right? You shut your dumb mouth, you old drunk. He's stupid old drugs. Yours are stink. What should I do? Hey, you're not very good looking either, all right? Despite your gigantic penis. That's what Mama Cole was saying. Everybody knows Reacher's Keepers business.
I know Reacher's Keepers.
Reacher's Keepers. Just to the side.
You kicked me like 4, 5, 6 more times. I'm gonna get really upset.
Like buildings.
I'm gonna bruise from that, Bitsy.
You bruise easy.
In the prehistoric year of 2010, humans used the ancient form of currency known as silly bands. Children would wear them on their wrist as a status symbol. The more restricted your blood flow was to your hand, the cooler you were. No, but actually, it was a real problem back then. But they're colorful and they're fun and they come in a million different shapes, such as cat, music, seahorse, banana peel, woman, terrier. Ooh. I assume it's a bone. Electric guitar and a sheriff's star and a football goal that's upside down. That one's a duck. He go quank. I don't know. I don't know that one. Silly bands are so good because it's like, sometimes it'll be like, that's a star. And then other times it's like, your guess is as good as mine. Rotate it all around. I don't know what this is. I don't know about you guys, but my favorite silly band shapes are the and the What, you guys don't want the silly band that's shaped like a... Well, fine, there's more for me then. I'm gonna need every silly band I can get if I'm gonna be the coolest kid on the playground. No, but actually, if you want me to open more of these, let me know. Thanks for watching Shelf Shorts. I'll see you in the next one. In the prehistoric year of 2010, humans used the ancient form of currency known...
The creator of Black Mirror refuses to watch Severance for the funniest reason. Black Mirror is back for its 7th season today on Netflix, and if you look around, you can feel the show's influence everywhere. It's in movies like Companion, It's What's Inside, and Don't Worry, Darling, and in TV shows like Upload, Dark, Hello Tomorrow, and especially Severance. But in a new interview with Charlie Brooker, the creator of Black Mirror, The Hollywood Reporter asked him, "What's the last show you watched that made you jealous?" And he said, "There's certainly a show I haven't watched that's made me jealous. People keep telling me to watch Severance, and I haven't let myself do it, because they also say to me, oh, you'll love it. It's a bit Black Mirror-y, but it's much better." Ouch. But what's so funny about this is Severance was directly influenced by Black Mirror. Severance creator Dan Erickson told the New York Times in 2022 that Black Mirror's 2014 episode White Christmas with John Hamm left a big impression on him. And Erickson says, "I remember feeling so cold and afraid after seeing that. This devastating idea of having to experience this endless solitude." The creator of Black Mirror refuses to watch Severance for the...
We got some news for you. Part of this, and this. Then you're gonna love this. Craftable saddles are here. Go get 3 leather and iron ingots and craft your saddle now. We asked the horse what it thinks, and the horse said this. Thank you, horse. Here's the saddle. Don't worry about it. I have several. Craft a saddle for your horse now. We got some news.
The end of time per se. This is a symbol of
Obviously,
how
guys, come on, don't be
things
fucking
end,
stupid.
Right? Always.
Yeah,
always.
Sure.
The state,
no, that's right.
Right.
I follow you.
So, okay, fine. So the state deteriorates still. It's a multi-headed hydra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then it has something on its back.
What?
And that's the whore of Babylon. Yeah, the mother of all prostitutes.
Holy
so
shit.
The idea there is that when the patriarchal state
Breaks
or
down,
psyche
it turns
loses
into a
its
woman.
central function,
It becomes feminine in
female
nature.
sexuality commoditizes.
Yes.
Right, and we can see that's like just happening everywhere right now.
And that's-
OnlyFans is the greatest example
Yes,
of that.
and it's
That
Luciferian
woman
in nature.
Great Britain who's sleeping with like 100 men a night, or I think she managed 1,000 in a week, something like that.
It's crazy.
I won't say her name, but
Very Luciferian.
she's become very well known for the absolute outrageousness of her behavior. Her mother is her business manager. It's so awful
Disgusting.
that you just can't believe it. Okay, so you have this.
Where do you find that stuff? I'm just kidding.
Mother of all prostitutes. So that's the central spirit of commoditized female sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen when the state deteriorates. Of course, female sexuality is going to commoditize when the
There's no
state
men to
loses
protect
its
it.
protective and integrative
Yep,
function.
there you go.
And so she offers this libertine pleasure, right? So you could think of power That's a way that that's what power offers to those who are willing to use power. It's like,
It's
why do you want
hedonistic.
control over someone?
True.
Well, to have your way with them, obviously.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be a
Obviously.
sexual component to that. That was certainly the case in Marx's own life, for example.
Oh.
So you can
Yeah.
imagine the fantasies that possessed him, too.
Oh, yeah.
Would be, well, once we establish this new utopia, and the communists promised free love. That's a common
Absolutely, they
leftist, as if it's love,
As if
which
it's
it
real
isn't.
love.
And as
And
if
it's free.
sex is free, which it
Not
never
even
is.
close.
What happens at the end of the Scarlet Beast
It
Whore of
devours you.
Babylon
Say it.
dichotomy,
It devours you.
interaction is the beast kills the prostitute.
Yep, every time.
So that's perfect, right? Because so the degenerative patriarchal state breeds the commoditization of female sexuality, but ultimately destroys all pleasure. And I also think that's happening now.
True. With OnlyFans.
You have radically high rates of virginity, for example, among Japanese and
But higher
Koreans.
pornography consumption.
And in the West, more broadly, an apparent breakdown of the relationship between men and women, not least politically, right, with the men starting to fly off into the conservative sphere of influence and the women becoming increasingly liberal. So that's another, it shows you the fact that these mythological tropes appear fitting, shows you how deep the malaise is, right?
Yeah. Sure.
The culture war is way deeper than the political.
In a vehicle to this is transgression, right? Transgression of the existing order. And transgression, I think, is such a key feature. In fact, I've described recently a cult of transgression that you could easily describe on the woke left, right? And it kind of fits my same energy, different direction, or same energy, opposite direction. Because you see with both of these two wokes, but also other these kind of degenerate ideologies and psychosocial dynamics, you have this cult of transgression where it's like the payment to be in the cult is to transgress a little further. You start with, we need LGBT representation. Okay, we've already transgressed because
And then next we're going to be at, we need trans children and then pedophiles. Come on, give us the path.
He's different from the LGB. It's completely different. It refers to trying to work out a
It's a competition of transgression.
Yes. Who can transgress
there's nothing in lesbian, gay, or bisexual that is a disintegrated psychology. There's something fundamental in the transition that's a disintegrated psychology. If you have gender dysphoria, if we admit that that's even real, you have a disintegrated psychology. Your phenomenology of self and your ontology of self are out of whack.
Yes.
And in fact, what they do then is once it gets out of whack, they invert it.
Yes.
And they put this phenomenology first and say the ontology has to follow. So if we do enough surgery, somehow we've changed ourselves. This is completely disordered thinking. So it's already a transgression, but let's not get lost.
Well, and the foundational principle there is sexual identity, right? This is a very strange thing about these fragmented identity claims is that an identity should unite. And it should serve a psychological and a social purpose simultaneously. Sure. An identity that's predicated on hedonistic orientation isn't an identity at all.
And this is where the transgression is. What does the whore present? The whore. She presents sex out of its context. Free.
How much do you think these guys, do you think they actually stroke themselves like after the conversation? Like, do you think like that was just, I'm feeling frisky after, like the podcast ends and like, let's go to the jerk room over here and just like, cause I'm fucking ready to bust some loads. That was just, it was such a deep and insightful conversation we had after saying just like so much worthless shit for an hour or 2 hours. Jesus Christ.
As you said, sex is never free. She presents free sex, right? So what she presents
the ultimate delusion,
the ability,
free sex.
The ability to transgress. And so you go from LGBT itself as a word, but we need representation. Okay, fine. So we need to put gay characters on TV. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe it's not a problem. Who knows? Well, we take a step.
Do kids.
What does it got to be after this?
Kids.
We need gay characters in children's programming.
Yes. And
it's
then
a further transgression. Then we need them in schools. Now we need a drag queen to come read to the kids.
Close.
Well, the drag performance needs to get more radical. And you can see it in the pride parades too.
Yes.
It's the inclusion of more and more transgressive stuff.
Yes.
This is a cult
Get
of
to the kids part.
transgression.
I'm
and it's
almost ready to
come. Now we can link the transgression back to your original idea.
It was almost there.
That you have a
cut 'em off.
hierarchy of social status, let's call it conservative. And so now the parasitic predators swarm in and they splinter it. they splinter with transgression.
Sure.
Right. So that's an important thing to note. Right.
But there's a deeper thing here, which is it's also what Mao did with his red identity, black identities, which were split themselves, is that the target is actually normal integrated society, and the excuse for the targeting is the opposite side pathology. Right. And so with Marcuse, to go back to the left, he writes this essay in 1965, Repressive Tolerance. He says, okay, there's 3 kinds of tolerance. He says there's democratic tolerance. That's what a normal, healthy society has, and it only can tolerate so much or it'll fall apart. And then there's the repressive right-wing.
True. I wonder if beforehand they're looking at each other, it's like, okay. This is like all Jordan Peterson might. So, okay, I'm gonna leak. I'm sorry. I said I was never going to leak this because I signed a big contract saying I wouldn't, but I think I have enough money now that I'll just pay the penalty. When Peterson goes on these shows, okay, what happens is you sit across from each other and he says, the way that I do this podcast, the only way that my deal with the Daily Wire is okay is we're going to have a schizo off. And I was like, what do you mean a schizo off? I wanted to talk politics. He's like, no. He's like, what we do is both of us just become increasingly schizophrenic during the podcast. And we try to see how far we can push it before anybody in the audience calls out that we're actually competing with one another to give the most inane, just arbitrary, but also wild, but also nebulous, but also like pointed at the left, but also like vague, and it's just like everything. Just the ultimate schizo off. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have the ultimate schizo off, and then once we figure that out, or I'm sorry, we're going to do that, and then, we'll see if anybody in the audience can figure it out. That's what's happening right now, okay? In case you guys wonder when you watch some of these shows, have they said anything of value over the last hour? That's what you're listening to right now, okay?
He has, and it only can tolerate so much or it'll fall apart. And then there's the repressive right-wing, maybe it's fascist, whatever. He actually uses the word fascist repeatedly. And then what he says is actually those two things are the same thing because of different stupid excuses, nuclear weapons or whatever else. So actually we live in the repressive state now.
Yeah, right. All game rules are repressive.
And his argument is actually that all capitalist society will degenerate into fascism unless it's resisted. And he says the answer to this is liberating tolerance. And what is liberating tolerance? And his own definition, which is, close to from memory, a quote, it is, we will extend liberating tolerance, he says, would mean we extend tolerance to movements from the left and we withdraw tolerance from movements from the right.
Jeez.
Which is everything to his right. Okay, so speaking
it's amazing how that's played out
in psychopathology. That's splitting, by the way.
And sociologically,
it's like BPD splitting. Wow.
I mean, one of the things I've noticed about my home country, it's really stark in Canada.
Oh, it's gotten dark over there, guys. Since the Libs won, not good, guys. Not good.
Conservatives protest, they're flattened.
Yeah.
Left protest, there's no holds barred. No matter how pathological it becomes, the left-wing protesters are always the heroic victims.
Yep.
The trucker convoy was a great example of that, right?
Yeah, when the truckers, I can't believe how much these guys were maligned. All they did was try to shut down the entire North American economy because they didn't want to wear masks. And for some reason, everybody fucking vilified these guys. Like, Jesus Christ. It's unbelievable how mad people got. Like, there's a whole world out there of trade and business and economy. And like, just because these guys wanted to shut down the economy in North America, all they wanted was just reprieve from the oppressive mask mandates that the majority of Canadians across the provinces voted for. It was crazy how much people demonize these poor truckers.
Because, it was a disruptive demonstration, although remarkably peaceful. And the legal repercussions are still unrolling. And I think maybe tell me what you think about this. I think it's because it might be partly the spread of the ideas of Marcuse through the culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I also think that people are genuinely people.
That's just, God, he's so profound sometimes.
That spread of the ideas of Marcuse through the culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I also think that people are genuinely people.
Yeah.
There's something to genuinely fear when actual conservatives protest, because they don't do it until they're pushed to the wall.
There may be, but I think
is it also an indication that something very fundamental has gone sideways? Because conservatives aren't the protesting type.
Think about that. It's just such a nice, it's just so God, I wish I could fucking suck Jordan Peterson from 2015 out to come and analyze this Jordan Peterson. Like the amount of patronization or the amount of, he would say the bigotry of low expectations, right? When the left protests, it's destructive and evil and horrible and malicious. One might say Luciferian. But when the right protests, I mean, you gotta imagine if the right's protest, that's like dads crying. Okay, that means some crazy shit. That's not their fault. Like, Jesus, if the right is protesting, you know that shit is fucked. Because damn, the right never protests. It's gotta be something crazy, right? When the left protests, it's their fault. When the right protests, something really bad is causing the right to protest, right?
I wanted to share something special with you as we Father Dale and God, just if and how that did complete
tells us something. No, but I think that the trucker protest tells us something different, because the target, these people, this is one of the most genuinely peaceful, pro-liberty, it was the freedom convoy, and they meant it, and they policed their own borders, and they kept the radicals out on the right. So what happened was they showed up, the left showed up to protest the normal people. I'm not going to say the middle, the normal people. Everyday freedom-loving Canadians, and the excuse was there's a far right.
Here's how much the Freedom Convoy has cost to the US and Canada. Traffic on the Ambassador Bridge, a critical North American trade route, reopened on Monday after a week-long blockade by truckers protesting vaccine mandates ended. But not before the protest likely inflicted hundreds of millions in economic damage. The so-called Freedom Convoy, which started in Ottawa more than 2 weeks ago and comprised roughly 8,000 participants at its height, created a blockade of key bridges and crossings between the US and Canada, including the Ambassador Bridge, as well as daily demonstrations in the Canadian capital of Ottawa. Protests largely centered on objections to vaccine requirements for truckers crossing the US-Canadian border, but came to include a protest against COVID regulations writ large. The bridge is North America's busiest trade link, connecting Detroit to Windsor, and a vital artery for the auto industry. About 25% of the trade between the US and Canada crossed this particular bridge, about $360 million of cargo daily, according to Reuters. The 7-day blockage, therefore, had wide-ranging consequences. The auto industry alone is facing losses as high as $988 million because of the blockades, given that there's an estimated $141 million worth of vehicles and auto parts flowing in and out daily, according to 2021 data from IHS Markit, a research firm.
Everyday freedom-loving. So what happened was they showed up, the left showed up to protest the normal people. I'm not going to say the middle, the normal people. Everyday freedom-loving Canadians. And the excuse was there's a far right. Okay. So what happened is I call this ideological flattening or dialectical flattening, but it's psychologically it's splitting. The person that's occupying the leftist deranged position has flattened liberals and conservatives into a single monster. Not so they can fight the conservatives, so they can fight the liberals. And that's happening on the other side. Conservatives will look over and say, whoa, there's the far left.
Whoa, hold on there. You're doing the dumb thing where you're criticizing the right again. Jordan, can you save us from this real quick? Can you find a way to make this about the left again? Because it's kind of weird because he kind of went to the right again. I don't know why he says, come on, Jordan, please, 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 you got to bring this back. Go back to shitting on the left. I know you can do this. Please bring this back to the left. Come on, Jordan.
And all the classical liberals are actually in their camp, and they've flattened them. It's the same splitting behavior. And again, so this is, again, an emphasis of this woke, or an exhibition of this woke right phenomenon of same energy, different direction, opposite directions in this case. And the idea is that they are attacking the middle through the proxy of the far opposite side. So I brought up Marcuse because he's also famous for Eros and Civilization and the sexual liberation. And we were talking about the pride and the queer theory.
Well, those left-wing movements in the 60s all floated on a cloud of free love.
That's right, they did.
Okay.
But look at the Pride Parade. Okay, so we need representation and visibility for gay people because there's a repressive society. That's the excuse. It's the far right that won't let anybody come out. So they come out. And is that where it stays? Is that what they're actually targeting? No. You have fetishes, you have all kinds of perversion, degeneracy. I mean, I don't want to even talk about what it is, you know, explicitly, which is an advantage to queer theories. Nobody will say what it actually says. Because it's so gross. But what they were targeting were liberal societal norms, real societal norms, healthy, let's forget liberal, healthy, not degenerate societal norms about sex and sexuality. And the excuse was if
well,
you
degenerate's the right word too, I think, because I think one of the hallmarks, because if you are a relativist, you might say, well, who are you to place modes of orienting yourself in the world in a hierarchy?
Yeah, sure.
You described some of them as degenerate. The reason that they're degenerate is because when they're employed, they degenerate.
Yeah, sure, of
course. So
God, he's just so fucking smart. Oh my God.
that they're degenerate is because when they're employed, they degenerate.
Yeah, sure, of
course. So they're games that violate their own principles as they play themselves out. Because I think one of the hallmarks, because well, degenerate's the right word too, I think, because I think one of the hallmarks, because if you are a relativist, you might say, well, who are you to place?
It's funny, this, I believe, would be a form of begging the question, right? So you're trying to figure out, what I mean when I say degenerate, because what, you're a moral relativist? Well, let me help you there, buddy. A degenerate is somebody that engages in behavior that is degenerative, because the behavior itself leads to degeneration. Did that help? Liberal? Well, no, because the question was, what does it mean to be degenerate? What are you degenerating into? Something that's degenerative, of course. Okay.
Modes of orienting yourself in the world in a hierarchy.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
'Cause you described some of them as degenerate. The reason that they're degenerate is because when they're employed, they degenerate.
Yeah, sure, of course.
So they're games that violate their own principles as they play themselves out.
But there's nothing about a guy in fetish gear at a parade in front of children, for example, that's challenging the norms of a repressive sexual society that thinks that, it should be procreative heterosexual sex only. That's an excuse. It's pretext. What they're after is the norms that hold regular society together. And my argument is that the woke right does the same thing. They have a cult of transgression too. They sometimes call it being based, but that's a completely bad word for what they're trying to describe, because based should mean based in reality, although the origin of the term is slang for being free-based on cocaine. So
what the fuck?
So they're out of their minds, right? It's just funny how this lines up. But what do? Okay, so the left has told us, the far left has told us, you can't be racist. Racist is worse. Everybody's a racist. And of course, they completely made degenerate the concept of racism, the word racism, the accusation, the sky is racist, going for a hike is racist. But they aren't trying to reclaim and say, okay, no, wait. Racism's bad, we don't want to be racist, and nobody should be racist, and the left completely ruined it, so we need to reclaim the term and have this healthy societal norm about discrimination and bigotry. What they're doing instead is saying it's time for us to be a little bit racist. The left said, don't be racist, so we're going to be really racist. And we're going to do it in order to to own the libs, as they sometimes phrase the thing, right? But really, it's to reject woke culture's the pretext. They're not acting racist or blaming Jews for everything going wrong in society, or, getting further and further into the racial expression or the white racial consciousness or whatever, or the white supremacy or even white nationalism, in order to challenge the left.
No.
They're doing it to challenge the center, the healthy core of society and its norms.
Well,
so that's the target. It's a cult of transgression.
Hold on.
But they point in opposite directions. Left, in some sense,
I don't like
don't
this.
be racist. They say...
I don't like this because it's kind of like he just said something that's like a little bit bad about the right. Jordan, Jay, can you bring this back, please?
Do be racist. And this is, again, the communist fascist thing. We're going to liberate everybody. That's what the communists say.
Bring it back.
They come along. It screws everything up. And, there's all this oppression in society. We're going to liberate people from oppression, and everything's going to be utopia.
He's going to get it. He's going to bring it back. He's going to bring it back. Don't worry.
Okay.
Defined primarily by full sexual liberation.
Of course.
Right.
And
there is.
Okay.
Hold on.
No. Did he just cut him off? Jordan was about to bring it back to the left in sexual degeneration. Come on.
Liberation.
Of course.
Right.
And
there is.
Hold on. It all goes to hell.
I can't believe it.
And so then the right wakes up, and says, actually, I think the oppression's what was holding us together, so we should do more of it. And they create a hierarchy in society that's very rigid, again, with that Führer principle from the fascists. Because Mussolini had his lighter version of it, Hitler.
God, the problem is that James is like so close to not even saying something correct, but almost so close to saying something profound. He has like the pieces there. Jordan is not a good person to have this conversation with because he's a fucking retard. But like, there's something here of, in a way, the right is being reactionary against things that they see as the left, and the way that they're doing that is by embodying things like racism, because they're trying to hint at a thing that was better than where we're at right now, but they're misidentifying the things that were better. So people will think like, oh, the internet was so much better back when we were kids because it didn't have TikTok or whatever else, and and maybe that might be correct, maybe, but it also might have just been better because you were 16 years old, and the biggest worry that you had in life was whether or not you had a quiz tomorrow in English class, not whether or not you could afford to pay rent, or if that pain that you just got in your knees, like a new permanent fixture in your life, or dealing with dying parent, right? It could just be that there were a whole bunch of other things that were just like nice in life, because when you're a kid, you have no actual worries or fears. Maybe not, But he's so close to hinting at something.
The legal structure for this thing, but the idea was that there is a hierarchy that kept society on the rails, and we're going to go back to that hierarchy in extreme pastiche form, and there's a reward structure socially for the people in the club to push the envelope and attack those normal, everyday societal norms in the center. So again, same energy, opposite direction, but the point is the transgression, which they call queering on the left. We don't have a word for it on the right. They call it being based, but that's not the same as transgress. But it's still transgression. And so same pathology for different reasons, same idea, like Marx said, you go all the way back to the state of nature, you're going to combine it with the end, so you're going to become the man, the alpha man, who's also the omega man, in other words, the alpha and the omega of humanity. So you become God man, Homo Deus, as Harari named it in his book Homo Deus. And then on the right, they don't go that far back. They don't go back to the state of nature. They're not interested in the state of nature. They're interested in the mythic past from which they've been dispossessed that never existed, a romantic vision of who they were at some golden era.
Look, see, like, he's actually really, and this actually does, like, he's read stuff. Like, this actually does tie into the Nazi stuff and everything else, and the Palestinians and the Israelis. Like, everybody has to be in charge of manipulating history, because when you can manipulate history and present a false history in front of somebody, then you can harken back to a better time that you can convince people was actually real. But that better time wasn't actually real in the way that they remember it, or not because of the things that they think were making it better, like racism or whatever else, but that was an aspect of what it was like. It's like when you grow up and every car around you is a shitty car and they're all blue, and you've got a guy and he's like, remember cars used to be good when we were growing up, and maybe the cars genuinely were better, but they were also all red. And you're like, we need to take these shitty blue cars and we need to paint them red, and things will be better like they were in the past. And maybe the red paint in the past actually sucked shit, and it was corrosive and it rotted and whatever the fuck, I don't know, whatever paint does, right? And so you get these people that are trying to harken back to a better society in the past, and maybe it was better, maybe it wasn't, maybe it actually wasn't better, but if it was better, it was better for different reasons that weren't related to the paint of the car, but that's the thing that you focus on. And the car paint, for the analogy here, would be the opting of a language and creating secondary meanings of all the words, right? Like Lindsay's onto something that is like almost profound. It's very close to being a very interesting thing, and it's true for the Nazis too, right? The empire of Bismarck was so much more ambitious, and not really the way that they present it. Or for the Palestinians, we used to own all of this land as a strong Palestinian people, not really. Or the Israelis, we got along with everybody and we've been nice to everybody around us, like, not really. It's like he's close, but then Peterson's here to fucking rip it all away.
In the past that they've been ejected from, but they're still now the alienated outsider. They're still the alien force came in, dispossessed them from who they are, and now they're going to claim it back. And the way they're going to do it is by organizing a fascist structure as an answer to the degeneracy, a very rigid structure, and in a too rigid structure, in answer to the
too rigid structure to make sense of what the perceived disorganization, right? And the book that we are so reading, of course, right? The fascist structure in response to the bohemian, lackadaisical lifestyle that lacked any real defining cultural aspects, like the great ancient, well, not ancient, I guess, in their time, but like of the generation before, right? Or in today's culture, right? The degenerating music and all this horrible stuff as compared to the wonderful stuff we had when all the musicians and singers were super straight and not degenerate in the 60s and 70s and 80s.
The not rigid enough structure of communism, and then what they do is the exact same transgression against the center to build their own power out in their local little cult against the big game of society. They're attacking the game of society to build their numbers with the hope of being able to replace it in both cases. So this is why I call these people woke. It's not just that they've gone on cancel rampages and struggle sessions. It's not that they've put me through a relentless struggle session since September without stopping, or, you know, doxed my family and everything else in their wrath. I said, James calls them all woke right, and they decide to prove me wrong by canceling me and struggling me and doxing my family and acting exactly like we all went through in 2015 when you stood up about the pronouns. And so, and that's the thing, George.
Today I'm going to restock the soap machines, fill them up all the way, and see which one sells out first. I buy each box online for 50 to 60 cents each and sell them for $1.25. Usually my manager stocks them, so all I really have to do is collect the quarters. My best sellers are laundry bags, dryer sheets, and Tide. Downy also does pretty well. OxiClean is hit and miss. Clorox 2 doesn't really do that great, and Gain is hit and miss as well. All Free and Clear is by far my worst seller, but I like to keep it in stock for people with sensitive skin and eczema. I ran out of Clorox 2, so I'm just going to be stocking it with All Free and Clear for the sake of the competition. This machine usually brings in anywhere from $500 to $700 in gross revenue per month, which means that I usually profit anywhere between $250 and $350 per month. I won't be getting rich off it anytime soon, but it's easy money. As you can see, Tide sells a lot, so we have 2 slots for it, but I'm going to be removing one for the sake of the competition. Now that I've got it all filled up, I won't be restocking until one sells out. Let me know who you think will win, and I'll check back in a few days.
What's going on? I mean, don't worry about it. Let's just see where this goes. Oh my God! It's still the commercial.
Today I'm going to restock the soap machine, fill them.
Sorbet is mainly made up of sugar and water and very little fruit. This method here uses 100% mango, and then you freeze it, and it comes out like this. Then you put it inside your Ninja ice cream cutting machine, and it will take a blade and spin it really fast and push it through your block of frozen mango and create ice cream. Now, the first time you run it, it comes out like a dry frozen powder, but when you run it again, it comes out like a creamy, delicious sorbet, the best mango sorbet you will have ever tried in your whole life. Sorbet is mainly made up of sugar and water and very little fruit. This
Chat, how much should I like fill up these cups? No, right? Because they rise. Mm-hmm.
You said 6 minutes, right?
6 minutes? Hey, that's my oven!
Oh, I'm using it now. Can I use it? I'm already in there. I'm in there.
What happened to the big C? Just put it in there.
All right, I'll take it out. All right, we'll take it out. Jesus.
Chat, how much should I like fill up these cups? No, right? Because they rise. Mm-hmm.
You said 6 minutes, right?
6 minutes? Hey, that's my oven!
Oh, I'm using it now.
I am in love with sim racing, but right now I currently have some problems. Don't get me wrong, firing up the rig for Lawn Mowing Simulator while drinking a beer is peak relaxation. And since the real F1 season is back, driving the same tracks they're on is just super fun. But the reason I haven't been creating more sim racing content is honestly just because of first world problems. The first dilemma is that I'm really feeling the need for a dedicated sim racing setup. Currently I'm dragging this next level racing rig around and up to my gaming setup. The end result is fun and I don't mind the setup at all here, but moving that setup around this desk up into my gaming PC is just the exact amount of friction where it causes me not to play at all. The second dilemma is that I just don't have room in my house for a better setup. A couple of brands want to send me their brand new sim racing setups, but I just don't have the room for it. Thankfully, we are moving to a bigger house in Houston next year. I'm thinking sim racing room. And finally, the last dilemma is I'm debating about buying the new F1 2025. I recently discovered that 2020 was actually the best F1 game, so I've been just playing that. But I'm the type of person that just needs to be playing the latest sports game, Madden, NBA. I'm just always like that. Should I buy this new one or no? I am in love with sim racing, but right now I currently have some problems. Don't get me wrong.
I'll say the hard things other people won't. We need to talk about raising the retirement age. I don't know why everybody's afraid of raising the retirement age. We're working, we're living longer, and we're working longer anyway. And let me nobody actually, you know.
At the bottom of the chest, you find a glowing green.
Jordan, back then, you stood up and you paid. That was ugly. And you were right. You saw that when they said you will use these literally transgressive pronouns.
Or else.
Or else. You said no. And it's like the world lost its mind on you. And it's looking back, it's almost quaint, but it wasn't quaint to go through. But the thing is you were right. And then Peter and Helen and I did the grievance studies papers, and we were right. So we were right. And I see the same structures, the same patterns, the same behaviors, the same reactions, the same explanations with slight modifications. That's the difference between communism and fascism as modern archetypes. And what I see when you can think of those as modern era mythologies for how society is supposed to be organized. And I see the same thing. And the thing is, we were right then and we're right now.
Yeah, I've been thinking.
We, but Peterson is not at all. I don't know if James can perceive it. I wonder what else is operating here. Maybe there is something pathological, just kidding. But like, I wonder what else is operating here that, this is just such a great example of being able to intellectualize something, but something is not connecting because Peterson is not at all, not even 1% along for the ride on this. It's why he keeps trying to revert the subject back to talking about the leftists or the degenerate wokies or something else. He doesn't want to go down this road at all with them. That's why he said no names, okay? No names. I'm curious if Peterson is about to hijack this to talking about the left again, that he won't engage at all on this. Let's find out.
I see the same thing, and the thing is, we were right then, and we're right now.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it as the hijacking of belief, right? That's right, a nice phrase.
It's a parasite.
Yeah, yeah.
And that hijacking of belief is this, just to take it all the way back to the Gnostic thing, that's what the Gnostic cults did before Irenaeus put them down, and then, Augustine comes along and mentions them all and says there have been 84 heresies or whatever up to this point by the 4th century. The Gnostic.
But hasn't Jordan called out the woke right before as well? A couple podcasts ago we talked about the Nazis and stuff online. He'll only call it out insofar as the Jews or the Nazi shit. That's it. But he won't go. But in my opinion, just from what I've seen online recently of James Lindsay is like he's almost like an in-between. Oh my God, actually, these guys should actually have a conversation. James Lindsay is like an in-between between Richard Hanania and I don't actually want to put Jordan Peterson out here at all because this guy's a fucking loser. But he's like in between. He's closer to Richard Hanania right now, I think, than Jordan Peterson. Peterson is not really calling out MAGA at all. In fact, I don't even know if Jordan Peterson is willing to call it the woke right or call it like a toxic element of MAGA. It's like he wants to view it as something different. Like that can't be MAGA. It's almost like a no true Scotsman thing, right? Look at all these MAGA guys that are Nazis. No, that can't be MAGA. They're Nazis. But that's the impression I get. I don't know. Maybe he has something more. He said something more like identifying them like that, and I just haven't seen it, but.
Gnostic cults did the same thing. They splintered off from the true faith. They came up with the idea that they had secret knowledge. That's the gnosis.
Have you tried the femdom dating app? That's the secret, my friend. All dating apps are femdom by nature because of the fucking differences in gender engagement.
They
don't get fooled.
Splintered off from the true faith. They came up with the idea that they had secret knowledge. That's the gnosis. But look at what the cults were, like the Manichaean cult. The Manichaean cult is an absolute splitting of the world into total good and evil. It's not us and them. It's us and everybody else against us. And the idea is that the evil is embodied in the world, and the good have to slowly work to consume the evil and turn it to good. And eventually you...
Oh my God, good suggestion. Wait, I'll try that. I will try that. A combo between me, Richard, and James Lindsay. I think it'd actually be really interesting. I'll DM them tonight. I'll see if they're interested in it.
You end up with all good. But this Manichaean battle between good and evil is what Marx codifies on the first page of the Communist Manifesto when he says that in a word, what he's talking about, the entirety of the story of history is oppressor versus oppressed. It's a fundamental dualistic metaphysics. There's no unity of society with a kind of melange of different people in different places working, playing different roles, sliding up and down the ladder. No, there is a fundamental dualism. You might move within each of those, but there's a fundamental dualistic structure, and they are in conflict. That's the first line of the Communist Manifesto after the famous preface. The first chapter, he says, the history of man is the history of the conflict of contending classes, oppressor and oppressed. And he says that what it's going to result in is the revolution of society or the common ruin of the contending classes. So either the bottom's going to come up on top and take over, the splinter group is going to replace society itself, or they're going to ruin everything. They'll destroy everything that they can't have. And then we're looking at, beastly behavior, and I don't mean animals.
So do we?
Like, it's so interesting to me that he's actually read it's such a low bar, but he's actually read the material and understands, and he can engage with it. He can actually engage with the material intellectually. I don't like where he goes with a lot of this, but I don't know if it's because Jordan Peterson's kind of members, he's been so mindfucked by the wokes, or he's been mindfucked by MAGA dipshits or whatever. But like, he's read the material, he's integrated it into his own mind, and he's like formulating his own thoughts on it. He actually has like an understanding of Marx, probably better than mine if he's read it, because that's more than me. But it's so funny because for so long, Jordan Peterson is the one who's talked about the neo-Marxist, post-modern, blah, 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 blah. I don't even think he knows what Marx even speaks about. I don't think he's read anything. Actually, I know he hasn't, because in his debate with Zizek, he thought that it was enough to read the Communist Manifesto, which is like the retard version of Das Kapital for fucking farmers, okay? And he thought he could debate Zizek on it, which was so arrogant and so stupid. And Lindsay's actually giving an accurate accounting of kind of like the philosophy, I guess, of how society will overturn and all of that. What is Peterson about to say? Peterson just can't engage on this at all.
And we're looking at, beastly behavior, and I don't mean animals.
So maybe we could lay out some of the behavioral markers because we might as well make this concrete. I can tell you what I've observed about the behavior of psychopathic parasites online. Okay.
Sure.
Maybe if you have 5 of these, you're one of them. You know what I mean?
That's
so
often
any one alone isn't enough.
Right, diagnostic criteria.
So in the comment sections, for example, anonymity is a marker.
Mm-hmm.
Use of a transgressive cover name, often satanic, often. So, and it's tongue-in-cheek, but
like, look at how Peterson. I'm so curious. I think it's evil. I'm just going to start ascribing malice to him. I am. Like, the way that he talks about all of this, the words that he uses, right? Think about it. What are bad MAGA? What's a smarter way than saying, no true Scotsman fallacy? They're not bad MAGA. They're parasites. Parasite is something different. It's not the thing itself. It's actually a separate thing. Okay, well, where do these parasites come from? Well, a parasite is not the organism itself. Well, where does the thing itself come from? It doesn't have anything to do with the ideology. It's actually pathology. They're psychopaths. They're psychopathic. Psychopathic manifestation, okay, of some biologically essential behavior has caused these parasites to latch on to the MAGA movement. In saying all of this, we've removed all of the accountability, all of the agency, all of the everything from the actual movement itself, because none of that, you can't cause a biological, essential, pathological psychopathy, okay? Sorry, all of these words are intentional. I'm trying to be Jordan Peterson, okay? It's biological in nature. It's not environmental. It's not anything you can fix, okay? It's biological nature, okay? Nature. It is psychopathy. It's a disease of the mind, okay? It's a pathology, right? It's a disease, and it's essential, meaning it's part of who these people are. It's not caused by something. You don't have to worry about causing it. It's an essential characteristic of these people, right? And then it's parasitical in nature. It's a parasite. It's a leech onto the movement. It's not anything from the movement itself. All of these, this is why I'm saying I'm viewing him as more, I think he's just evil. I think he's an evil person. He's not doing this by accident. He's choosing all of the right words and giving all of the right diagnostics to make this so there's no accountability. There's nothing wrong with the movement itself. I feel like it's very insidious. I don't know. That's the feeling I get. But
use of a transgressive cover name, often satanic, often. So, and it's tongue-in-cheek, but no, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, there's such a clear, who can say it in chat? God, there's such a clear analogy to what he's just said there. There's a clear real life example of this. What did he say? Hold on.
You know, and it's tongue in cheek, but no, it's not.
You can do things that are kind of very evil, and it's tongue in cheek, but no, it's not. That's a profound thing, right? Fuentes identified this when he talks about I think somebody in the audience asked, like, why do you listen to this when it's just propaganda? And Fuentes said, yeah, it's propaganda. It's important to listen to the propaganda because it tells you what they're really saying. And that's true, right? It's tongue in cheek, but it's not actually tongue in cheek. It might not be expressing the thing itself, but it's expressing something about it by expressing the thing itself, right? People are saying Sam Hyde. I would say a really great example of the real life analogy here is the Elon Musk Nazi salute. I don't think Elon Musk is a Nazi. I truly don't. I don't know if he has any alt-right or neo-Nazi-ish beliefs. And I do think that was a joke. It was a joke, but it wasn't a joke. He was signaling, right? It was a joke, but not really. It was tongue-in-cheek, but not really, right? That's a perfect comparison to what he's talking about here. But of course, they would never bring that up here. But
often. So
same with Kanye? No, not the same with Kanye. Kanye is mentally ill. That's a different thing. Kanye is actually crazy.
You know, and it's tongue in cheek, but no, it's not.
Yeah.
Derisive language, right? So that would be language indicative of
derisive language. Donald Trump is the nickname president, literally. Nobody fits this better than Donald Trump. Derisive. Nobody fits it better than Donald Trump.
Contempt.
Yeah.
Contempt's a really toxic emotion. Contempt and disgust. Hitler used disgust language to characterize the Jews, not fear language.
That's right.
And you destroy things you're disgusted by.
That's right.
You stay away from things you're afraid of.
It says in Mein Kampf that early in the book, in the second chapter, that one of the best moments, he doesn't say it's the best moment of my life, but he realizes, and it's clear that he's very happy about it, was the moment when he realized that the Jew is not a German, and the German is not a Jew.
Right.
That's disgust.
Right, absolutely. They use derisive and contemptuous, what do you call it?
This is just, the Trump admin is riddled with this. How do you have this conversation without bringing any of that up? The people of the shithole countries, the immigrants are poisoning the blood of the nation. What was that? There was some unhinged quote about immigrants. Like, how do we not bring this up? They're immigrants, they're not Americans. They're asylum seekers, they're not immigrants. They're not like us. I don't understand how you can make it through this convo without.
Call those. LOL is a good example.
Oh yeah, dismissive kind of.
Yeah. What do you call those? LOL is a good example.
Oh yeah, dismissive
that's
kind
the
of.
example we're going with. My bad.
Yeah, acronyms. Okay.
Now you know there's lulz culture online.
Yes, of course.
I do it for the lulz. That's a hallmark of sadism. Now those people who do those things, so those are 4 or 5 things: anonymity, pathological nom de plume, derisive language, and then the use of these contemptuous and cool acronyms. Belittling, they use the word dude. That's a real good marker.
Yeah.
Dude. Or they'll use a derisive nickname to kind of equalize the playing field.
Yeah. I'm Jimmy a lot.
You're Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Diminutive. They'll use a diminutive.
Jimmy.
Like, seriously? The diminutive nicknames? Come on. It has to be intentional. Seriously? We're not going to bring up who does this more than anybody else? Really?
Concepts instead of conceptual, James.
Right.
That started on the left, and now the right uses it.
Right. Yeah. So those are markers. What else have I seen? An insane rise in explicit anti-Semitism. And that's been going on for about 5 years, and it's worse all the time.
And Nazi apology.
Yeah, well, that's
which isn't just the apology too.
Yeah.
It's
God, and it's so boring because the anti-Semitism is actually so much more insidious on the left right now. The mainstream right, they're just too old, dude. Fucking Donald Trump is the most Israeli simp president in the fucking universe. Okay, Jesus Christ, this guy would let fucking Netanyahu bend over his wife if he asked. Okay, God, fuck, and now they're on the. Oh my God, it's so cringe.
Years, and it's worse all the time.
And Nazi apology.
Yeah, well, that's
which isn't just the apology too.
Yeah.
It's the transgression. It's
like, how can you talk about Nazi apology without bringing up Ian Carroll, without bringing up Douglas Murray on Joe Rogan with Dave Smith, without bringing up Tucker Carlson entertaining all of the Nazi, without bringing up Candace Owens? How can Candace Owens leaving the Daily Wire? How can you not bring any of this up? We're just going to hearken to random Twitter trolls? Really? How is that possible?
It's the post the meme, sometimes meant to be funny, so you have plausible deniability or the other social functions of humor.
Joking with plausible deniability. It would be funny if I ran for a third term, wouldn't it? How does none of you are in a target-rich environment when it comes to examples. This administration, the last 3 months, are littered with perfect plug-in examples here, and none of them come up. None of them come up.
Come into play, but they'll post the meme of Hitler. Why? Because you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
That's why. So you have norms of decency around different things. One of those norms in, again, mainstream healthy society has been that we're not going to valorize Nazis. We're not going to lionize these guys. And you have, I'm not talking about the historians or whatever.
Oh my God, and he's too scared because he doesn't want to insult Jordan Peterson here. So now he gives the out to Daryl Cooper. Now he gives the out to Ian Carroll. Now he gives the out to these guys. Oh, I'm not talking about those guys. Oh my God, dude. How do you bring this up right now? These were mainstream international conversations about platforming these historical revisionists, and now we're not going to say the names at all?
We're not going to lionize these guys. And you have, I'm not talking about the historians or whatever else that are coming out and rehashing David Irving or any of that. I'm talking about these, to use the word that's on the internet, shit posters.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You know what I thought, sorry. No, James is impressed with the conversation. But I realize what we're hearing now. This is two grown men recounting their trauma of dealing with gripers. That's all this actually is. My bad. It took me a while to realize it. That's what this is. This is two grown men who got trolled the fuck out by gripers, and now we're listening to them processing their trauma.
These, to use the word that's on the internet, shit posters.
Yeah.
Who come and post pictures of Hitler with a smile on his face, or they're translating his speeches into English and clipping out parts where he's rousing Germany to a you know, cheerful future. Oh, he just loves his country. That's one of the messages they put. They love it. I'm sorry. Read Mein Kampf. Actually read it. He's utterly clear about the point of his state is to preserve the race, and the biggest pollution of the race, to preserve it against pollution of inferior races, and the most inferior race is the Jews.
Yeah.
Absolutely clear. The demonization is absolutely visible in 25 when he publishes that, way before they say, well, it took until 38, 39, maybe 42 when
It's fucking true. Like, James is even pushing back again, and he actually read Mein Kampf while Hitler was in prison. Like, he actually is aware, and he's aware of the dates. He's distinguishing between the Nazi Party in like 33 onwards versus like what Hitler thought in 25. Like, he has like the timelines, everything in his head, right? Because this was a bullshit talking about, oh no, the Nazis discovered anti-Semitism in 42, LOL, when they turned the wrong dial on the camp in Auschwitz, and they're like, man, if we kill these motherfuckers, it's a lot more efficient than actually cleaning them. Holy shit. Somebody accidentally was delousing with Zyklon B and realized that if he did 300 times the dose, they could get rid of the louse and the Jews. But no, he's aware of that, and he's even countering that narrative, whether intentional or not. It wasn't a convenient thing. Hitler was a deeply anti-Semitic man, post-1917. Deeply anti-Semitic. It's true.
Way before they say, well, it took until 38, 39, maybe 42 when Churchill got involved. That's when they had to really start hating the Jews. And that current is all the way back to the beginning.
So this shit posting problem, so that's part of the enabling of the psychopaths by the free social media platforms, right? By the costless social media platforms. Do you have any sense? So we're working out ways to identify people.
Swarm behavior, by the way, is another one.
Another marker.
Another marker. So you'll get one of these derisive replies, and within minutes it'll get 600 likes on it. You don't know how that happened. From an account with 30 followers, and your reply somehow gets 600 likes in a minute or 2 minutes, and then everybody piles
like
up.
A biblical plague of locusts.
And then they jump in on you and say you got ratioed. Of course, a lot of it's bots that people bought. Yeah. But what they do is they say, my comment was more popular than your comment, therefore you're not very interesting, and we're very interesting, so we're ascendant. And by the way, that's psychologically really impactful if you don't know what's going on.
Yes, definitely.
But you feel like the crowd.
Fucking the gripers have traumatized these two men. Oh no. Jesus. I feel like I'm listening to Hassan talk about me right now.
They tell me this all the time. We're all laughing at you. We're all laughing at you. We're all laughing at you.
Yeah, right.
It's very sophisticated psychological torment. Unfortunately for my antagonist,
hallmark of sadism.
I understand the game, and therefore...
Does it affect you?
Only when I'm not prepared for the pathway by which it comes. When I'm aware of it, no. But not at all, except maybe to encourage me. Somebody put up a meme of me the other day, and it shows like a guy building a castle standing inside the wall, a big giant guy, and it's me. And there's all these people throwing rocks, and it says on the meme, it says, James when his haters throw rocks at him, and I'm building a castle out of all the stones they throw at me. And so no, not so much, except they can catch you off guard. They can catch you off guard. And what catches you off guard the most, and this is the power of the struggle session, what'll catch you off guard the most is when one of your friends buys it. They see it and they go with the people that are haranguing you. That's when it'll get
like dude, I'm actually so triggered. I'm glad I listened to this. James he's actually so close to piecing together so much good stuff, right? Like, do trolls bother you? No, of course not. Actually, I've given this exact same speech when it came to why I was so open to kind of like trolls and trolling in like 2011, 2012, and then why the character of it changed. And the explanation I've given in the past is trolling in your community was funny because when you trolled, it was especially funny because 99% of people knew it was a troll. 1% of dipshits would wonder, and I think it's true. It was a little different. Like on Reddit, stuff would get posted, or like the DJ SP2 forums or 4chan or whatever. Because like sometimes people would post trolls, and like 20% of people wouldn't actually know that it was a troll. But then like as the internet became larger, as these forums became larger, social media became larger, and as bad actors showed up, well, now you entered an area where a troll would be in a community would be funny, and like everybody knew it was a troll there. But once it escaped your community, all of a sudden like 95% of people are taking things very seriously. And now you're in this weird world where you step outside and somebody confronts you. Like I still get comments that I guess this is an inconsequential thing, but like people meet me in real life, like, oh my god, you're way taller than I thought you'd be. I'm 5'8", what do you mean? It's like, oh, I thought you'd be like 4 foot nothing. It's like, do you think I was an actual fucking dwarf? And this isn't even like that insidious of like a lie. It's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I'll meet girls that are like fucking 5'0", and it's like, oh, I didn't know you'd be taller than me. It's like, what? How do you even think that? Right? And then this extends obviously all the way to claims of like rape or political ideology, like, oh, this guy's a Nazi or this guy's a racist or whatever. And yeah, it's not, you know, when a random person online is saying it, that's not the issue. The problem is are people in your life going to start believing it? Or are people that you know that should have a better opinion of you or that you trust to have good opinions of you, are they getting information that's hard to combat? And this is true. This is where it gets scary. And this also maps on, by the way, to bot behavior and bot amplification behavior. The issue isn't that bots are saying a thing online. The issue is that when bots say a thing online, ordinary people can see it, and then they'll start carrying the same message, right? It's like a push on a swing. Like this is a real problem that he's identified.
Get you. That's when it'll affect you.
So the proliferation of this kind of pathology seems to be linked to...
Another characteristic is the attempt to get people to distance themselves from you.
Yep.
I face that.
The isolation. True. Yep.
Very frequently. Right. You want to get away from him. He's contaminated.
Yeah, well, that's discussed terminology.
That's right.
Again, right? You're the carrier of something pathological.
That's right.
Yeah. So the social media platforms, so Musk's perspective, and Rogan's to some degree too, mine for that matter, is that the best antiseptic...
Don't do it. And then he goes back to the... Oh my god. I think Peterson, has the largest gap between... I don't even know if verbal IQ is a real thing, but if it is, he has the largest gap between verbal IQ and like actual intellectual IQ or G or whatever the fuck that I've ever heard in my entire life. I think he has the most verbose vocabulary in terms of like, what is he actually saying profound? Because post 2017, 2018, I don't think I've heard a single profound thing from Peterson. He used to say a lot of stuff that was actually profound. When I say profound, I don't mean like, oh, that's right. I mean things that's like, oh, that actually makes me think. It's insightful. He's about to do the sunlight is the best disinfectant, like the level 1 engagement meme.
To some degree too, mine for that matter, is that the best antiseptic is sunlight. But
James is going to fight against this because James is smarter than Peterson. Peterson shouldn't even be in this conversation. He doesn't deserve to be in this conversation because he can't even hang in this conversation. James is going to counter this because he knows this is bullshit. He knows it's bullshit. I'm sorry.
That matter is that the best antiseptic is sunlight. But there might be a flaw in that reasoning, and maybe you can help me think it through.
Oh, Peterson realizes this is a stupid fucking answer. That's good, at least. He's thought for at least 2 seconds about this topic.
when I'm sitting across from you, I bear the weight of my words, right? It's going to have an impact on the net, but it's also going to impact the relationship I have with you. And so I'm constrained or regulated. I'm regulated in my utterances by consequences. And so there's never been a time, really, where free speech existed without reputational weight. Now, maybe pamphleteering and that sort of thing, but that's trivial compared to what we have now.
Right.
I mean, how many people can you get your pamphlet to? And what sort of effect is that going to have? That was back in the time of writing, but now your pathology can multiply virtually without end. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe it's necessary. I thought for Twitter, for example, that there should be two sections. There should be a section where people's identification is validated and a section for the anonymous trolls. And that should be demarcated. So you can go visit hell land of trolls if you want, but you know that they're not real people.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that, as far as I can tell, is the digital ID problem.
Like the interesting conversation here is, how do our political ideologies feed into antisocial or degenerative or destructive behavior in our political movements? If we were actually being self-reflective or introspective, that's the conversation we'd be having here, right? On the left, we have this conversation a lot in my community, of course, as well, because of the insane, this recent event. Take a 2-minute Charlie Kirk break.
Spend all day on social media, of which, when we built Turning Point, we didn't have any of this nonsense. We had like a little bit of Twitter, Instagram, whatever, but like we were too busy actually building stuff, not talking about ourselves all day long. And then third, you can't build anything with woke. And so what's happened is unbelievable. So this entire group is in disarray because, and Dean and Parker go on social media starting to issue these apologies because their organizer by the name of Z, this person that worked for Bernie, the head of their whole NF America thing, apparently was a little racist to all of the community of black creators because she was issuing microaggressions. And so they had to kick her out of their little club, and they're in total disarray and issuing apologies. This, guys, is why DEI and woke will never work in this country. You guys can't even figure out how to fill out a permit for a campus event without having to go blame each other, say it's disorganized, and we're racist. This is a perfect example of the dysfunction of the American left and the hyper narcissism and the virtue signaling. Oh, I'd like to apologize to my fans because I knew this was happening. Honestly, what are you apologizing for?
Dude, true. What the fuck?
For it was a disorganized mess. Oh, it's offensive to black people. Give me a break. You guys, here's my piece of advice. Never entrust liberals who feel on the left to do anything meaningful. I mean, just look at these guys. They're a joke. It's a circus act, and for good reason. And so while Turning Point USA is thriving, raising more money than ever, 400,000 donors, more employees, or 1,000 plus staff, our events are unbelievably big. And we have many more coming up. Huge summer events, thousands and thousands of people coming. They can't even figure out what is racist and what's not racist, and they're fighting over the simplest, dumbest things imaginable. It's a great example how conservatives get stuff done.
They are, and the thing is too, the most frustrating thing for all of this is if that event would have been an actual clusterfuck, then it'd be like, whatever. But it wasn't. Like, my understanding, assuming people aren't lying about all the numbers or anything, that event was unbelievably successful. They raised a decent amount of money off of it. Supposedly, Parker, I think, or Dean, one of these, or maybe both of them, were literally posting their most successful clips in the history of their entire channel. Is it Parker or Dean? These guys are both literally coded as the exact same people in my head. Did this come from the event?
It's a very
it did.
move on your.
We don't go to college, and apparently neither does a guy trying to maybe purposely ignoring.
Like it was so successful, and this was like literally their first go at this, and for this to fall apart for just the most retarded reasons. Are you serious, dude?
We are thriving. We are ascendant. We are popular. We're winning the culture. We're winning young men. And the left, the un-F America crew, They can't even fill out a piece of paper to be able to have an event. And their little sideshow event, maybe 6 people. Go woke, go broke.
Like, he's making fun of that for the optics or whatever, but it was, at least online, it was definitely successful. Especially, remember, this is the first shot at it. It was...
Can't build anything under woke.
So cringe, but...
I mean, the net allows people to escape the reputational consequences of their psychopathology, their destructive, sadistic, corrosive, power-mad, hedonistic psychopathology. It's a terrible thing, and people have no idea how dangerous it is. But if you verify IDs electronically, then we walk down the...
It's time to address the allegations. In one of my last videos, a lot of people claimed I'm using mixels in my game. What are mixels, you might ask? They're mixed pixel sizes. Like if Minecraft had 16 by 16 and 32 by 32 sprites at the same time. This is a big no-no in pixel art. It makes it look sloppy and unprofessional. Now, where'd I use mixels in Plunder? I drew the island for Kelp Town with half the pixel size of everything else a long time ago, and I forgot about it.
Are you the funny one or the hot one?
I would say the funny one, because I'm actually not hot. My boyfriend once said that he started to not look for looks, but more for like emotional things. He told me basically that I'm ugly, but it's okay.
No, but...
It's okay.
No.
You know, sometimes you just have to accept the fact that you're ugly.
I'm with you for your personality, but like... No, but in like a good way, in like an act... No, because like, okay, no, listen. No, okay. Hold on, no.
Tell me more.
No, listen, you're the hottest woman alive and I love you a lot, but what I love more than just you at a physical level is you at an emotional and mental level, which is why I love your personality a lot.
Oh, sure.
Does that make sense?
Of course.
Are you the funny one or the hot one?
I would say the funny one, because I'm actually not hot. My boyfriend...
Shuffle is a pretty cool snap type. Let's say we've just edited a voiceover, and you want to export it without the gaps, like these ones. Then hold Shift and double-click the first one. Now all the following ones on this track are selected as well. And just drag it and they all snap to each other. What you can also do in shuffle mode is, let me color this one. If I want this one to go somewhere over here, you don't have to go to events mode and then kind of move everything around.
What's the best price to performance smartphone? There's one answer and it's not even close. The CMF Phone 2 Pro has a unique design, a 120Hz AMOLED display, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery that advertises 22 hours of YouTube, a solid camera system besides the front-facing camera, but, you know, it's still an Android, and it's all backed by a pretty capable chip. I would pay around $550, maybe $600 for this phone. It's $279.
That I'm at an all time.
What's the best price to performance smartphone? There's one answer and it's not even close. The CMF Phone 2.
These unicorns remind me of my OC pony Dewdrop Starshine. She was actually a princess. She had 2 different colored eyes, and she was the only one that could learn fourth healing. I mean, special magical unicorn healing. And she didn't have to work for it at all. That doesn't make any sense.
I was reminded when you punched Chuckle so hard that he laughed until he died. He felt prone, didn't he? Well, what's the definition of prone? Prone means like horizontal. Oh, yeah. It was prone. They keep talking about Chuckles for some reason. Let's just move on.
Why is Gideon haunted by the murder of Chuckles?
Well, did you see how hard he hit his body? I didn't hit him that hard. Well, you hit him right here. That's the kidney. Yeah, well, I'm not a surgeon.
You know I never forgave you, Gideon.
Well, you know what, Chuckles? I never asked for it, okay?
These unicorns remind me of my OC pony dewdrops.
Route to Chinese totalitarianism, something like that, as far as I can.
And if you read the original documentation, Stanford University has its Digi-China project and translates Chinese documents. 2014, they're putting forth a social credit system, and they actually explain that the purpose of the social credit system is to achieve a perfect socialism, because it's not just a social control mechanism, it's a Pavlovian training mechanism.
Right, nudging.
It's like your life becomes a video game nudging you to hold the beliefs that the state wants you to have.
Well, the man who just got elected prime minister in Canada.
And he brings it back to bitching about the left. Like, he's politically captured. That's what he is. He's so politically captured. It's rotted his ability for any type of remotely interesting observation about ideology or society or politics or whatever.
The man who just got elected prime minister in Canada.
Yeah.
He says two quite stunning things in his book, which no Canadians read because
Peterson included.
We'll leave that lie. 75% of the world's fossil fuels have to stay in the ground.
And then he goes to the most retardedly stupid fucking talking points that, oh my God, dude.
Okay, that's proposition number one. And he's made that a centerpiece of his thinking for 20 years.
Oh, yeah?
There's no priority guiding every financial decision by every individual and every corporation that should be prioritized higher than decarbonization. That means every single thing, and then he says, of course, there'll be losers in consequence of that, but it's a price we're willing to pay, we have to pay, the sacrifice of others. So this is a man who thinks that net zero is the proper game and that if you were a moral actor, decarbonization would be your God, right? Regulate every single one of your decisions. Well, out of that comes the kind of
Luciferian
pathocracy that you described. It's like, you've seen this already. There's edges appearing. There's credit cards, they were issued in Australia. That's exactly what will happen.
It's not just social control, it is social training. It is operant conditioning. I was looking for the word. It's operant conditioning in its most sophisticated form, especially when equipped with the technologies of AI.
That's right.
That's for sure, because the AI systems trained on your purchasing behavior, for example, will be able to predict your likely behavior with a stellar degree of accuracy.
That's right.
Right? I mean, the advertisements that you're fed already do that to some degree.
That's right.
So the only solution I can think of to this is because the digital ID solution seems to be troublesome, to say the least, means no privacy whatsoever, forever, fundamentally.
Yeah.
I guess it's exposing this and hoping that people make wise decisions. You know, and I guess that's what you're trying to do with the woke right idea.
Yes. Yeah. There are workable activities that could step into play. For example, you know, a lot of times you'll hear, especially libertarians, talk about the revision to the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012, and now our intelligence communities. We know that our social media is awash with propaganda. Well, there are legal constraints that you can put at least on your own government to prevent that. You can if you want to have a task force for doing something in terms of, say, national cybersecurity, keeping Russian and Iranian
Careful, don't say Russian. We don't talk about that.
Chinese bots and bad actors, Pakistani, these are where a lot of these bot networks are coming from. Keeping those foreign influence campaigns out with a dedicated cybersecurity project is going to clean up a lot of it.
You think the administrators can stay ahead of the bots?
I don't think so. Actually, so far, not yet. I don't know.
Well, no, that's I mean, that's another problem, right? Is that the system transforms itself so
so we can't do anything
rapidly that it's very difficult to regulate it.
What I'm thinking is, Trump created a space force because of maybe space war or whatever it's supposed to do. I'm not quite sure, but this is like, I don't want to make it a branch of the military, but I'm using it as an analogy.
I don't know. Maybe it should be a branch of the military.
The cyber security or cyber warfare division, an entire branch that is dedicated to that. Because this is a serious problem for, and again, the bigger the country, the more power it wields, the more likely it is to be attacked. Not to be rude to people from Botswana, but there's just not that much incentive to go mess around with their internet. There's a ton of incentive to mess with MAGA, which is informing Trump.
Well, we've already tracked too, some of the groups that I'm working with. Women 18 to 34 have political opinions that are way off center compared to everyone else.
Look at how he brings up Trump and MAGA and how easily they're manipulated, and he immediately pivots back to women. He's a malicious actor, or he's just so fucking retarded. Like, he's done this every single time. Again, the title of this video is When the Right Goes Too Far. Or maybe I'm the dipshit, and this is a meta. The titling is actually meta to trick idiots like me, because the title of the video is When the Right Goes Too Far. And what is my complaint? Jordan Peterson can't level a single criticism at his own side. And I thought that the name of the video is When the Right Goes Too Far. And then Jordan Peterson says, well then, what would you say this video is an example of? And I'd be like, the issue is, if you look at the video, the issue is when the right goes too far. I'd be like, oh shit.
You think I'm crazy?
Oh shit. How Luciferian of me. You're right, fuck.
Plus, they're dreadfully miserable.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they get 80% of their news from TikTok. And TikTok is a bot farm, fundamentally.
Yeah.
And the algorithms are designed to produce exactly the kind of upsetting pathology that characterizes female voters between the ages of 18 to 34.
Who are the most likely to vote liberal. Of course, those are the pathologized ones. Of course, true king.
Well, this is why woke is so female-coded. Everybody kind of wonders, what in the world is critical race theory? Why is it so female-coded? It's because every bit of what we call woke on the left passed through feminism to mainstream.
Yeah.
So it was all built off of pathological women trying to figure out how to pathologize young women to join their club or cult, really.
Sure.
And so it all ended up getting twisted.
And Peterson's done it, thankfully. I've got the young lad back to talking about wokeism again. On the left, thank God. Thank God.
If you look at communism, Soviet
that's part of that oppressor-oppressed narrative,
Soviet communism was not a feminine endeavor, right? Brutal gun shooting, the whole thing. And there's a lot of things you could say about the snitch culture and all of this, but it's not like what we have now. But the reason is because the ideology passed in order to become viable in our society, to find the receptor sites. The receptor sites for Marxism in the West were overwhelmingly young white women, and it had to pass through feminism to be able to get the parasite to attach as a mind virus in order to get there, because that's what it was designed to do. On the other hand, therefore, you have young men who've been ravaged.
Pussy whipped.
Dave Rubin and I were talking the other day, and he said that you, as an individual, have done more than, and I believe him, more than any individual on the planet Earth to help young men who've had a hard time through all of this.
Oh my God, we've got 10 minutes and we're talking about young men. Can we get a cry here, please? Can we get him to cry a little bit?
Nonsense for the last 20 to 30 years. They have a voice in the wilderness to reach and help and guide them and get them to, clean their room and all of the stuff.
And to identify the parasitic predators and keep them at bay.
So what we have now is we had a vulnerability complex that attached to young girls. Now we have another one that's rising in answer that's attaching to young men.
Whoa! Excuse me. You just tried to talk about conservatism again. Can we go back to the crazy young women, please? Can we please go back to the crazy young women? Please, 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 please. Come on, JP. 10 more minutes left on the free video. You can turn this around. Don't let him talk about MAGA. Turn it around, turn it around.
So the tragedy for me,
don't let him keep going.
And I'm watching this, and I get, I'm integrated with the moms networks of the grassroots moms all over the country, right? And of course, these demons have come up with all kinds of salacious rumors to spread with regard to that, to discredit me and to remove me from their activity, which are all nonsense. But at any rate, what I'm watching is all these moms, I'm hearing from these moms already, who are telling me...
He's hearing from your mom.
They aren't using this phrasing. This is my phrasing.
Peterson was propped by the zeitgeist of fighting woke via compelled speech, which got him on Rogan, then told boys to clean their rooms and give Bible lectures while refusing to affirm God's existence. He's a waster man plus grift. True.
Telling me they aren't using this phrasing. This is my phrasing. They by the grace of God, their daughters didn't get pulled into the trans destruction mania, and now they're having to watch their sons get lured into Nazism. And that's why I'm so worked up about this woke right cult of transgression. I get it. You're a 15-year-old boy, maybe you're a 19-year-old boy, or 25-year-old, maybe you're a 35-year-old who hasn't grown up and got out of his parents' basement, and you think it's funny to post a mustache man meme or two here and there to rile up the libs and the normal people in the left and everybody else.
Plus, you're irritated that your identity has been targeted for 30 years.
Yeah, of course.
Look at that locus of control. It's always external. It's always someone else's fault. Hold on. Are they posting some Hitler memes? Okay, one, a lot of them are funny, I admit, as somebody whose Instagram reel feed is heavily Nazi influenced right now. But two, think about how the wokies like traumatize these guys, right? People have been saying fuck the white man for a long time, you know? Sometimes you turn a little Nazi, right?
On racial grounds, right?
Just like the way the Germans felt with the imposition of the Treaty of Versailles, if they saw it that way, whether we do or not, how the Germans felt about the French and broader Europe and the rest of their standing in the world. And they were impoverished and they were broken down. It's the same powder keg. Or maybe that's not the right word. It's more like a tank of propane. Because you're going to pump it up and get it to spray fire when it comes out the other end, right? It's like
one of the things people can watch for everybody who's watching and listening is beware of anything that's motivated by resentment. You know, the mere fact.
Motivated by resentment. True. You wouldn't want somebody who's just like out for revenge. Or is explicitly said over and over again. Like, imagine if you had like a political candidate, or fuck a candidate, imagine if you got elected who just talked about the last guy over and 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 over again.
The fact that you have had difficulties that are somewhat arbitrary, first of all, doesn't distinguish you from the main run of the human race. But if the motivation stems out of resentment, the probability that something horrible has got a hold of your soul is extremely high.
So I go back to the first thing I said, right? What's woke right? Well, it's woke people who act like, or who call themselves conservatives. It's woke people who call themselves conservatives or right wing, right? So there it is. You just said it. They are people who feel alienated and dispossessed from their heritage, victimized, they're filled with resentment, and they channel it through left wing or right wing causes.
You know, that's the story of Cain, eh?
It is the story of
Cain's sacrifices are not rewarded. He invites the spirit of resentment in to occupy his soul and becomes not only murderous, but the progenitor of genocide and the precursor to the flood.
Wow.
Right, and the media, it's so interesting,
James. That's crazy,
because,
chat.
So Cain's sacrifices are rejected, and it's a little ambiguous as to why.
Oh, yeah.
And then he goes to complain to God. And God says, you think you're miserable because you're failing.
Thank God we were able to take this back to some boring ass bullshit. Thank God for that. Thank you, God. Thank you.
It's like, you're not. There's lots of things you could do about failing. If you did well, you would be accepted. What you've done is you have allowed something terribly tempting that crouched on your doorstep to enter your house and have its way with you. And that's why you're bitter, resentful, and murderous. It has nothing to do with your failure. It's this additional variable, which is because the thing is, everyone, in a sense, this is true of heroes in mythology, everyone starts out lowly. Everyone starts out dispossessed. Everyone starts out oppressed. Right? And there's angles of your identity that you can construe as oppressor-oppressed narrative.
The reason why I get so upset about the biblical analogies, okay, is the Bible usually speaks so highly of Jesus and stuff, and I'm so Luciferian in nature that it's just like, Jesus, there's so much glorifying of Jesus and everything else. Like, can we get some Satan in here, you know?
With no problem. If you decide that you've been treated unfairly and now you have a right to resentment and revenge, then well, then you're the monster that breeds genocide.
Yeah, so what does Cain do? He's rejecting the system that he has to succeed in order to be rewarded. He's rejecting, so there's a system out there.
Luciferian
And so what does he do, though?
too.
He goes and kills his brother.
Like, it has to be a troll, right? Like, it's got to be a troll. This is like the, what were they all saying in liberal media? Apoplectic or whatever? Apoloptic? There's some word. It's got this, how many times is it Luciferian in this fucking podcast? It's got to be like 20 times. Not exaggerating. Like, it's got to be like 15 or 20 times. I don't know, maybe I am. Hold on. Control F. Luciferian. Is that, is it 14? Well, no, hold on. Luciferian. Okay, I did exaggerate it. My bad. 8 times. I bet it's in there more, but it's 7 times. I bet it's in there more. It's just not getting caught by the auto speech thing. Guys, here's time about my supple senpai, my beautiful boba baby, and sweet prince, my summer day and winter's night. Please follow me into the kawaii cherry blossoms and be my pokey pappy and anime heartthrob. Okay, dude.
He goes and murders
His
the
successful
guy.
brother.
His successful
Yeah,
brother. He goes
exactly.
and, so it's exactly the same thing. A lot of these guys that are pushing the woke right stuff, and there's nothing wrong with a new character coming on the scene. Every one of us was a new character. I mean, you were doing great work, obviously, and you have a body of work extending well before that as a professional. But then you spoke up in 2015 about that horrific pronouns bill, and you sort of became a different monster, a public intellectual. It's a curse word, I think, but you know what I mean. And this, my favorite moment ever. I was skeptical of you until I watched you talk to Kathy Newman, and then I watched you do the most effective...
You should have been skeptical of me to begin with.
The most effective judo I've ever seen in a discussion in my entire life. And I said, I watched that I was gonna tell everybody how you were wrong. And I watched it, and you impressed me, and I was like, I have to like him now. And so,
how annoying is that?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Sure.
No, but, and I think that's a thing. I was excited to start learning as opposed to being annoyed and resentful. I'm like, oh, well, I was wrong about this guy. Move on.
Right.
But a lot of these fellas that are pushing the woke right stuff appeared in the anger and in the repression is the word of 2020, more 2021. They don't have a body of work extending before that. They just kind of came out of the ground. And good, I get it. There was a lot going on. There were people making great commentary about liberty regarding the COVID policies. There are people making great commentary about the obviously critical race theory, cultural revolution running amok, and the queer theory later. So I'm very grateful to everybody who came along. But these people that have a longer perspective and a deeper body of work, it's hard because
that's a crucial. So that touches on Douglas's point too, is that to not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
That's right.
I mean, one of the things
the institutions are corrupt, but due diligence matters.
Right. What has this person who's saying these things done, and to whose benefit is what they're saying? So you have these pretenders. I think this is, maybe we can end with this at this section. I think what we'll do, maybe on the Daily Wire side, is talk about the anti-Semitic trope, but I'd like to introduce that for a bit. I don't understand it exactly. I don't understand why the woke right, for example, is particularly capitalizing on anti-Semitism. Do you just think that that's a particularly daring and attention-seeking transgression? Are they proclaiming that they'll violate something sacred because that's how brave they are?
This is a yes and. A yes and.
Okay.
Tell us.
Yes, it's this transgressive. Also, they know good and damn well that there are certain transgressions you can't come home from. You go too far down that road, there's no way back. And not because your new friends are going to call you names like a sellout or a cuck or dual loyalties or whatever. There are certain lines you go down and you don't get to come back. And they know that. So they get to trap people there. But this, I believe, and we will probably or possibly disagree on this, I think that there are particular malevolent actors that are pushing this who have grander designs than getting clicks, getting an audience, satisfying their own narcissistic urges, transgressing boundaries. I think that and it makes total sense if I were to say China's supporting all of it, and if I had evidence, you'd believe
Iran.
Me. Oh, China, Iran, Qatar, Pakistan, like the Arab League, Russia, and the deep state, possibly. Trump is a problem to something. We can tell by the way that they've organized the Trump derangement program that's just screwed Canada royally, but has deranged Americans. I have family members I can barely relate with still because of Trump derangement. I was obviously cast out in disgrace from the last vestiges of the left when I said I was going to vote for Trump and said publicly on a podcast, Make America Great Again, they lost their minds, and said I went crazy. And so Trump is something, right? There is a lot of reasons besides just the fact that he's the sitting president of the United States of America. He's doing a lot of things to this global order that are disruptive and in a good way, in all likelihood. There's a lot of motivation to take this man down. And if you can fragment his base by getting them to argue about Israel good, Israel bad, that's a deep cut that you've just...
Like, how have they managed to evade all of the responsibility from the anti-Semitism on the right? All of that is externally powered? Really? It's all just a massive psyop? That's where we're going with that? Okay, I guess.
Just taken cloven MAGA in half. So all it takes is one event, something that goes down in Israel, and Trump takes a side, takes the Israeli side, and bang, they can pull the thing apart. So it's like a wedge. It's not just what we were saying. It's also a wedge to hammer deeper and deeper and deeper into MAGA. The people who like Israel and the people who don't. Or the conservative movement, or America itself, which therefore implicates the left side doing the same exact thing at the same exact time, using the horrible events of October 7th as their pretext.
Well, we'll continue this on the Daily Wire side, and that way we can attract the maximum number of commentators who say that the reason we saved the discussion of anti-Semitism for the Daily Wire section is because I'm under the thumb of Ben Shapiro and the Zionists.
Oh, me too. Don't worry. I don't have Ben Shapiro or the I'm Zionist. I'm paid by Israel. I've turned out the lights for them on Friday for years. Don't worry.
I see. Okay, well, apparently we're in the same club.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good talking to you, sir. Thanks very much for coming in today. Thank you to all you who are watching, listening, and to the film crew here in Scottsdale for this, making this completely preposterous conversation possible and helping us broadcast the word to be awake and be careful who you're listening to and why you're listening and what spirit possesses you while you're listening, and beware of resentment, boys and girls, that everyone in hell is resentful. So
thanks.
Good to talk to you, sir.
You too, Jordan.
Jesus.
We now know which system builder packs their systems the best, but Miss Kateson is still missing. And to find her, we'll be investigating all of the different system integrators' support skills. What did we try this time, Ploufson?
We unseated the graphics cards from the PCIe slots. Well, except for Dell. Their retention mechanism was so strong that we had to instead unseat the 8-pin PCIe power connector. Shall we check the surveillance footage?
Indubitably, Ploufson. Where has Scott? That's pretty useful, actually.
Hi, I have no video on my computer when it's on.
That's a problem.
Can you please give me the service tag of your device?
We just gave her invoice. It knows exactly what computer we have. Who cares?
The service tag.
You look up the service tag.
So I see that you have an XPS 8960 model system, correct?
do.
Yes. Do you have any other alternate monitor to check whether if you find the same error? No.
That's a really good question, though.
It is, because you don't know if it's the cable, if it's the display, if it's the GPU, maybe it's some other part of the computer.
Shut down those systems and disconnect all the external peripherals.
Have you tried turning it off, unplugging, turning it back on, and plugging everything back in?
Oh, you say you have? I'd like to visually watch you do that.
Am I unplugging everything in the back? Yes, unplug every external peripheral, including mouse, keyboard, monitor. If you have printer connected, everything. Press and hold the power button on the system for 15 seconds.
Doing great, Katie.
She just wants her to unplug everything, power the whole thing down, drain the capacitors and everything by holding the power button, plug it back in. Very reasonable.
Okay, everything's plugged in. So you can power on the system. Check if you get anything on screen.
Is this a postcode?
It looks like it. Well, hold on, it's just blinking. It keeps changing.
No, nothing's coming up. Was there any video before this issue occurred, or is it the first time you're connecting the monitor to the system? This is the first time. And is the monitor compatible with the system? Yeah. Just give me a minute, ma'am. I'm just checking with my internal resources to assist you further with the troubleshooting step. Please stay connected.
Hey, she's telling us what she's doing. Hey, I gotta check my script.
It's totally okay.
That's totally valid.
What type of port are you using to connect the cables? I mean the video cables. HDMI.
That's another valid question.
Do you have a different compatible or a known good compatible cable to check?
I've used this cable and monitor with a laptop before and it's worked perfectly fine.
So do you have a known good cable to check with the system instead of laptop?
This is a stupid question.
No.
I don't need to do that.
I've used it. I literally was just using it. The cable works. The monitor works.
Can you please verify was there any damage detected on port or cable?
No, there's none.
Cable works.
They really, really want it to be this cable.
100%. And to be fair, what has been the problem almost every single time we've had the issue with like a display on set? It's almost always the cable. They flake out.
Can you please try reconnecting the cable and verifying the connection? Please disconnect the cables and reconnect them once again.
Okay, they're out. Do you want me to plug them back in?
Yes.
Okay, they're plugged in.
Do you see any change when you turn it back on if you reconnect the cable?
No.
How many times are we going to do the same troubleshooting step? I don't mind this troubleshooting step. I don't like doing it twice.
Yeah. You also told me that you do not have an external or a known good monitor to test, correct?
Yes.
We gave a little bit of conflicting information there because we told her that the monitor works with the laptop. So Miss Kateson could have been more clear, but also she already asked and we already told her it works with the laptop, so what is she asking us the same question for again? This is the problem with a script rather than an experienced troubleshooter on the other side of the line. Is you don't gotta ask me, do I have a known good monitor if I just told you I used it with my laptop and it worked?
I know it's good.
So we have troubleshooted the issue where you have mentioned there is no video on screen. So after troubleshooting, we got a conclusion that we need to replace the defective graphic card.
Well, they know it's the GPU.
How though? I wouldn't know it was the GPU yet. This is like, you know, oh man.
Doing the wrong math to get the right answer.
Yeah.
To replace the graphic card, you can take your system to the nearest Caring Service Center, which is available nearby your location. If you help me with your complete physical address, I can send you the location of the Caring Service Center.
No, I'm okay.
That is a valid response. And I can understand why they wouldn't want a novice user poking around inside the system. But this GPU could still be perfectly fine. It could just need to be reseated, or it could just have the power cable loose. And there's no reason for me to not be able to just and then get my system up and running.
Yeah.
It also could absolutely just be something else at this point, preventing the system from posting. They have done nothing to diagnose whether some RAM came loose in shipping or power supply cable came loose.
And I see that you have on-site service where the technician can come to your location and replace the graphic card.
I mean,
the technician,
as much as we'd rather do it ourselves,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. A service technician to come in and do it for you?
And that is not a service that we were upcharged for.
Nope.
That was included in the base price of the system rather than being aggressively upsold at a super high price.
And considering Dell's average customer, I kind of understand, like, yes.
Keyword being average.
It would have been nice if they'd walked us through a few more steps to try to fix it, but I get why they got to this point here and just said, give it to the technician.
And you also have another privilege where you can send your system to our mailing service center, where the technician will check the complete functionality of the system.
I think I'll make a decision later and see if I want to call the guy to my house.
Okay, in that case, I will send out an email to you. You can simply reply to that email. That means I will get the notifications and I will call you back, because if you call us back, you may connect to a different team. Again, they may not know what is the exact situation that is going on this case. So simply reply to my email. I'll call you back for you.
That's pretty good.
Okay, they log everything. They set us up with either an in-home service or a mail-in service, and we're off the phone in a little over 20 minutes.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Oh, it took a long time. They didn't help me fix my issue, they told me how to fix it.
Well, they told you that they could...
Well, they told me that I should invite a guy over to my house to let me fix my computer. I would rate it a 3 because I couldn't really hear what she was saying.
Yeah, she's a little quiet. I think 3 is pretty reasonable. They spent some time with us. They didn't immediately push us off.
I'd have given it a 4. I mean, they solved the
4?
problem.
Well, I mean...
Solve the problem, solve the problem.
In the long term, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for calling support. Please hold for the next available technician.
Wow, quick wait times for both Dell and Main.
Hi, I don't have any video coming up on my computer.
Was this after you just first plugged it in, or has this like happened progressively?
No, this just happened. Like, I just got back from vacation and got my computer, so.
Congratulations on the new system, and let's see if we can get that working for you.
Personable.
Yeah, it's also a great question. I mean, there's a big difference between computer just arrived and doesn't output video, and I've been using it for 2 weeks and suddenly stopped working.
Yeah.
So for your monitor, do you have it plugged in above the USB, or do you have it plugged in near the bottom where there's a separate card that has like...
Instantly goes to check if it's in the motherboard or if it's in the graphics card.
Yeah, it's on the bottom.
Are you okay with going into the system?
Yep.
Immediately invites us to crack the side panel.
Have you already powered down the system or no?
No.
Do you know where the memory is on the motherboard?
No.
These are good questions, though. Figure out what kind of user you're dealing with.
Now he's got a baseline of like what kind of directions to give her, because he's not going to say, "Oh, look above the memory for these dots."
Check the dim slot.
Yeah, she's not going to know anything about that. But now he can be like, "Oh, you see this thing here? Go this way," and that's what you're looking for.
On the inside of the computer, do you happen to see 2 strips that are lighting up, or no?
What a great way to describe RGB memory. She doesn't get it, but
strong disagree. 2 strips that are lighting up.
Okay.
To the right of those strips, do you happen to see any indicator lights? There's going to be 4 small little LEDs. They light up in different colors. So there's usually a red, yellow, green, and white. Do you happen to see any of them on currently?
No.
I don't think she looked in the right spot.
On the inside of your system, there's going to be a graphics card, pretty much where you plugged in your monitor. Do you happen to see if it's light I don't know if this graphics card specifically has a light on it, but do you happen to see if the fan is spinning on it or no?
I can't see it.
All right, let's try something else here. You can actually turn off the system, and instead of using that graphics card, let's try plugging in the HDMI into the motherboard itself, just to see if we're getting a picture at all.
Good troubleshooting step. Honestly, non-F CPUs do cost a little bit more.
Oh, it's worth it every time.
But every time you run into a problem and you're trying to troubleshoot, it's nice to know that you can just plug into the motherboard and, okay, is it a problem with my graphics card? Is it not?
Let's see if anything shows up on the screen.
Yeah, it turned on.
You're seeing a boot logo, or what are you seeing on the screen?
Yeah, it's just asking me to like sign in and stuff.
Okay. For the moment, if you want, let's just get you signed in, and then we can go about troubleshooting the graphics card there.
He's gotten to the root of the issue extremely quickly.
Yeah.
He still has no way of knowing for sure if our graphics card is dead or unseated, or maybe the power connector's loose. Doesn't know any of that, but he knows that it's GPU related and the rest of the system works. That is a great start for being on the phone for just a few minutes.
On the graphics card in particular, we're going to take a look at the power cable with it, just to make sure that it's fully plugged in.
Okay.
That would entail opening up the system so that we can actually take a look at it. If you can, you could take a picture and then send it to support@maingear.com, and that way I can walk you through exactly what we're going to take a look at specifically.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Using the camera on the phone.
A picture is 1,000 words.
Oh God.
Dude, don't be
She's
so-
taking off all the screws.
I'm not sure I know how to take this off.
Do you mean the glass side panel?
Oh, I got it.
Okay, because I was going to say there should be 2 thumb screws on the very back where you plug in the ports.
Yeah.
Once you unscrew those, it should slide back and you should be able to lift it up.
Yeah, I got it out.
Okay. Apologies on that.
He would have had it there.
Yeah, the minute you send it there, I should be able to take a look at it for you.
Sorry, what was
And again,
the...
apologies on that.
What was the email I'm sending it to?
It's going to be support
Yeah.
at maingear.com.
Oh, okay.
He's so upbeat.
He's very patient.
Again, I apologize on that.
No, it's okay.
Says sorry every time he asks us to wait a little bit.
Yeah, what is this guy, Canadian?
It is possible that we may have to just reseat the graphics card. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it's just the power cable.
Wow.
He's already figured it out, man.
Dude, he's so good.
Dell just gave up. They're like, your computer's
And Main Gear, having this troubleshooting capability at their level 1 tech support, is going to save them so much money compared to Dell. Like, yeah, I'm sure Buddy here costs a little bit more than that overseas call center, but compared to sending a technician out to someone's house, it's a bargain.
If you look underneath the MSI GeForce RTX logo that's there, do you happen to see if the fans are spinning or no?
Yeah, they're spinning.
So it knows the card's getting power.
Yeah, everything seems to be in place there too.
Let's see.
And you were able to fully get into Windows essentially on the system?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We can try one more thing. It looks like
He's gonna have us reseat it, and he's gonna win.
Yeah, we may have to try reseating the GPU.
Well,
I knew it.
Before we do the reseat, go ahead and shut down the system. And then we'll try and just reseat that power cable first.
Methodical. I love it. I'm like excited. This is what tech support should be.
he's gonna fix it.
He's gonna fix it
Come on,
so
man,
hard.
Gear.
There's gonna be a little clip that's there. We're gonna fully unplug it, unseat it essentially, and then we're gonna plug it back in to make sure it's fully seated. It should be an 8-pin power cable.
Yeah, I plugged it back in.
Yeah, that's easier to check than taking the card in and out, unscrewing PCIe slot covers and stuff.
And it's so much faster than asking me for my serial number and my order number and my service tag, and then asking me if the power cable that I have is compatible with the GPU I have. Just get on with it. This is good.
Do me one more favor. Just press lightly on the GPU. I just want to make sure it's fully seated in the slot, and then go ahead and turn it back on.
I wonder if you might have accidentally fixed the unseated GPU.
All right, it turned on.
Just from her pushing on the power cable.
It's entirely possible. That's all it can take sometimes. And realistically, in shipping, that's probably all it would come out to, is just that hair. You just gotta push it in.
He wins.
He does.
And that's with the graphics card, correct?
Yep.
So that's a good sign there. I apologize for going through all that, all the troubleshooting there, but it looks like you do have your graphics card working. Just looks like it was just a cable issue. And if you have any other concerns, questions, or anything, just let us know. We'd be happy to assist you further.
Main Gear should just start up a like side hustle, secondary business as just like a phone chat line. Every time we call them, they're so friendly, helpful, personable.
I was thinking they should outsource their customer support team to everyone else.
Yeah, dude, I would do spots for just like phone a friend. Brought to you by Main Gear's phone a friend service.
What is your problem today?
Are you
just
lonely
a little lonely.
Well, here, let me help you out with that. You see the bright green glowing thing in your computer? Let's talk about it for a little bit. I'm gonna help you
Plug
troubleshoot
stuff in, unplug it, you know.
I think my experience was a lot better with Main Gear than it was with Dell. He actually knew like how to talk to me. He was asking me some pretty decent questions and walked me through it. And they were able to help me fix my computer. I rate them a 5. It was really good.
100%.
I rate them a 5 too.
Absolutely.
Thanks for calling CyberPower PC, makers of the best gaming system.
Hey, we got the best pizza. Like, how the do you know that?
19 seconds wait time.
I'm having some video problems. My computer isn't showing me video on my monitor.
Can you please let me know where you have your monitor connected to? Is it to the graphics card or to the motherboard?
It is connected to the graphics card.
Katie only knows how to check that because of the excellent instructions that were provided by the previous tech support
You're
agents.
right. He should have specified where to plug it in.
He did not help her landmark
And
them.
it's the same problem we have with the tech support stuff as we do with the shopping, is by the time they get a few in, they already know some stuff they
Yep.
didn't know before.
Because we intentionally choose people who we know are not particularly tech savvy.
Does the fan spin on the graphics card itself? Not the whole computer, just the graphics card.
Yeah, it's spinning.
I like that they're asking that though.
Yep, these are good
Yeah.
questions, but he has not asked her if she's comfortable with the internals of a computer, if she knows what memory is or anything like that.
True.
It can probably be that due to the shipping, maybe the graphics card got slightly disconnected.
But he nailed the diagnosis.
So what I want you to try next is to remove the graphics card and then put it back in to see if that helps. If it doesn't help, then it can mean that it's either a defective graphics card or it was damaged during shipping.
It's a little extreme. I probably would have asked a couple other questions first.
But he wasted 0 time dicking around, having us turn it on, turn it off.
Oh,
and
100%.
Ask what brand our monitor is and if it's compatible with our system.
Yeah.
Just to confirm, so I can send you the video guide, the email I see here on file.
Whoa!
He's got a video guide.
Video guide!
Hey, everyone should have a video guide on this stuff.
They
honestly.
have the cyber power.
This will take you a while. So what I recommend you to do is you can either reply back to the email with the results if it worked or if it didn't.
And it gets him off the line. Here you go, follow this guide, see you later.
Yeah, if you have problems, call me back. Here's my number, it's in the email.
That was so fast. Okay, let's see if she can do it. Let's see if the guide's any good. The guide could still suck.
That's true, that's true.
You see laid down on its side, you got the side panel taken off. We're gonna have a look at removing the graphics card now. So,
hey!
It's a very clear video.
Hey, they took my branding. What do you mean fucking tech tips? I'm tech tips.
Anyone can give out tech tips.
you push down the clip, give it a wiggle, it'll just come straight out.
These are good tech tips so far.
Do you want me to take the whole GPU out?
I don't know, Katie. Why don't you watch the damn video?
And there'll be a little clip on the card there, just where I'm pointing there.
Be nice if he showed the clip a bit better.
Oh, here we go.
Wow.
Oh, there we go.
And they even give a close-up? Yep. I'm so impressed right now.
Directly back into the system, just line up the slot as you did when it was already in the system.
I could use a little bit more guidance for where the bottom of the PCI bracket kind of slips into the thing or not the thing.
Yeah.
It can be a little tricky.
Oh my God, it's really stuck in there. Lift up? Oh. Oh, I see. Okay. I don't even know how to take this part off to take it out. It doesn't show you. It doesn't show you anything.
Yeah, it's like you got a screwdriver, just start unscrewing.
Oh God. Okay, yeah.
No, that's fine. She's got.
She had the thing open.
She's got to take that off to get the PCIe slot covers.
Okay, here we go. Nice. Let's go, Miss Kateson. I think it's just a confidence issue. Because she could totally do it.
Yay.
I'm calling it now. She's gonna feel accomplished when she figures it out and the system turns on.
So I'm just going to insert this one directly into the system. Just line up the slot.
And then just puts it back in. Okay.
She can do it. She'll do it kicking and screaming, but she'll do it. She's gonna get it.
That's good. The lineup, yeah.
No, that's close. That's close.
Try not to mess it up.
There we go.
That's close.
I don't break anything.
I think that's me telling her, like, if you break it, you break it. That's customer support.
Yeah.
Ah, click.
That's it. That's the one. Look, she's moving faster, more confidently already.
Knows how to use the screwdriver better. It's just, yeah. You know what I would have done?
Boom,
I would've said,
lines it up.
It's not
Boom,
important.
using the magnet.
I wouldn't
Let's
put
go.
it back on.
She's Big Nerd Gaming now.
Hell yeah, she is.
And if you're Big Nerd Gaming, boy, do we ever have a shirt for you. LTTstore.com, Big Nerd Gaming.
I don't think it's working.
No, it's working. It's working.
My hard work.
No, you just wait.
I believe.
I believe.
Lights came on the keyboard.
Just wait for it. Let's go!
The video that I got sent was not a very good explanation of how to take everything off and unscrew everything. So that was a little difficult and I had to learn myself.
No way, I disagree.
And
it
yet,
worked.
Is your computer working?
2 minutes. 2 minute long that video is.
But other than that, I got it fixed and now it's working. I rate the support probably a 3 because they didn't really give me any explanation on how to do it. They just sent me a video and then that was kind of cut short.
I liked the video.
I like the video.
I think that it really helps visualize everything and it makes it very clear on what you should do. So I disagree with her on that, but I also do understand how some people, especially if they haven't done anything before, they might want someone to stay on the line and talk them through it.
I can
But
see
he
that.
asked, if she's good to go, and she said yes. So
And the call was short.
yeah, she could always
And her
call back.
computer is fixed.
100%.
So she could have felt better about it.
Sure.
Next we're doing HP.
The biggest nerd gaming of all.
Let me transfer you to an agent for further assistance.
Thank you for calling HP. My name is Karen. How can I help you out today?
19 seconds.
Hi, I have no
HP,
video
yes.
on my
Thank
new
you.
PC that I have, and it's violently beeping at me.
Oh yeah, HP has postcodes.
After it's unplugged and completely turned off, you need to press and hold the power button for 30 seconds. We're trying to do a power drain or a hard reset here. Let me know once you start. I'll start the timer of 30 seconds. I'll let you know when to let go of the power button.
I'm actually surprised Main Gear and CyberPower didn't bother to just like try a full shutdown and reset capacitors and everything.
Okay, it's on.
Okay,
It's beeping.
like, do you see any display?
No, I don't see any display.
Is there any pattern of the beep there that you hear? Like 3 long, 2 short beeps, anything as such that you can recognize?
Yeah, I think it's 3 long, 2 short.
3 long, 2 short. Okay, let me have it check. And now I would request you to
It's 3
again
long, 2
turn off
short.
the computer. We'll try to get
Katie,
into the
no!
file. I'll let you know how
No,
no,
Katie.
So completely turn it off.
Oh, the lady also shouldn't have given her an example. She should have just asked if there's long beeps and short beeps, because then she would have had to stop and think about it. Instead, she's like, oh yeah, it probably was 3 and 2, because that's what you said. Those are going to be completely different errors. Completely different.
If I was the tech, I would probably just ask them to put the mic next to the computer so I can hear the code anyway.
It's beeping again.
Here we go.
Okay, kindly let go
Notice,
of
Katie.
the keys there.
1, 2, 3. Yep.
And as I understand here, since this PC was purchased, this is the first time you're trying to hook it up to the cables and try turning it on. Is that correct?
Yes.
We can try to reseat the RAM sticks physically on the computer there.
Reseat the what now? Did I hear graphic something?
I don't know.
Remove the RAM stick.
RAM.
Wait for a few seconds.
Okay.
And put it back.
I think it's
valid
a RAM.
step. Valid
Shall
step.
we-
Yes.
How much you want to bet that that's on their basic troubleshooting because of Secret Shopper Season 1?
I bet you she looked up 3 long, 2 short beep code, and I bet you that beep code is RAM.
3 long, 2 short typically indicates a memory failure.
What a twist. To be fair, this is Katie's fault, not our customer support rep's fault.
Yes.
She shouldn't have led the question, but tech support's going through the right steps for this one. It should be memory.
Can you see the memory sticks there which you can pull out?
Okay, yes, I do.
How many of them do you have? Like 2 sticks or just 1? Yep. Please remove both and remember the slot where it was at. It should either be on 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. Okay.
Yeah, it's on 2 and 4. How do I take them out? Just take them out?
Yeah, Katie would love
Just
to have
take
a
them
video
off.
right
Try
now.
taking it out. There is no tools required for this as well. And I don't think you need to press on any lever. Let me just check again with this model and I'll let you know. Just give me one quick.
Unclip it!
Bad instructions!
Unclip it!
Bad instructions!
Don't just
don't just rip them up!
It's like, this one's hard to pull out of here. How do I get this out?
Oh, no. Oh.
So you should
We are not
see
big nerd
opposite
gaming.
there like a lever that you can press.
Now she tells us
and then
about
you should
the
be able
lever.
to pull off the necklace. The other side will be
Now she
like
okay,
cable.
yep, it was a lot easier that time, huh?
I was saying you can put back the memory sticks, plug back the power cable, and plug in other required cables like for the monitor and all of that, and you can try turning on the computer. You let me know if the beep comes in again.
Da, 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 da. Meh, meh, meh.
I don't hear it yet.
Okay. Do you see the lights coming on the tower, indicating it is turning on?
Yes.
I don't know why the postcodes aren't coming on though.
Maybe she ruined it more.
Maybe.
No, visual is not working.
But the lights are still on there, stable?
Yep,
On the
and
tower?
it's not beeping.
Can you try placing the RAM sticks in slot 1 and 3 instead of 2 and 4?
Don't mess with the she's stuck on the RAM because that's what she heard the 3 and 2. It's not her fault. It's not her fault. Honestly,
completely on us.
Sorry, HP.
Yeah.
There's not much we can do.
You guys got kind of boned on this one.
Could have told us about the RAM clips right away instead of letting us rip a stick out first. That would have probably no damage done, but that would have been nice.
I'm having trouble getting it in.
We need to align it on the slot and then press it gently down until you hear a click sound.
These are all good tips. I just wish they would come a little earlier.
Okay, I think it's on.
Okay. Try turning on the computer if it's in.
Okay, it's on.
Okay. Kindly check the display and let me know if it's still doing the
1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Now we have the memory code.
She either didn't see them properly or they're just in the wrong slots. So now there is a memory code. So
okay, what are we rating Katie out of 5?
For this one, she gets a 2. She should have listened to the beeps better. She grew up in an age after beep codes.
That is honestly a really fair point. I know to listen to a beep code very carefully.
Yep.
She doesn't.
Could you please turn off your computer? Again, place the computer flat on the surface and just remove one of the RAM sticks and try turning on the computer with just one.
That is a great step.
Yes.
If it's the RAM.
Yes. Great troubleshooting step. It just isn't the RAM. I mean, now it is.
Yeah, now it is.
So you can just keep one of the RAM sticks in the slot 2 and remove the other one. Okay.
She's getting better at plugging in I/O.
I believe.
You think this is going to be magically fixed?
No. But I believe that this is the system's gonna.
It's beeping still.
RAM
Did
is
she
still
break
good.
it? Did she fucking break it?
I don't think so.
The second one, and it's not lighting up.
and then her RAM's not lighting up, so I'm thinking it's not seated properly, because it should at least turn on with the RGB stuff. As long as power's getting to it, I think she just doesn't know how to seat RAM, which is fair. It takes a lot of force. It's like putting a CPU latch down. You don't always think it's going to take that much force.
And she didn't have a video to show her how to do it.
We can get this computer replaced with a new one, or we can get the same computer repaired under warranty, where we pick it up and return it back to your shipping address after the repair is completed. Let me know what's your preference.
That's reasonable.
I'll
That's
think about
fine.
it
I mean,
later and I'll get back to you.
At the end of the day, HP is solving the problem. You can't go too hard at them.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little longer than we'd like. I don't want to ship my system out and get it back. That kind of sucks. But
We'll put the RAM back in the right spot.
Yeah.
Before we test everything.
I just mean they're solving it though.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're standing behind the product.
Yep.
In spite of our shenanigans.
Is there anything else that I may help you out with right now?
No, that's all, thank you. I feel really bad, I kind of want to fix it. I think the call with HP was not the greatest call. She didn't really give me the right directions on what to do.
You didn't give her the right directions.
And the problem just kind of got worse over time.
That's because you took the RAM out.
I'm giving HP like a solid 3.5. I don't think that was their fault. If we give them literally the wrong information, very early on in the decision tree, and we end up fucking over here instead of over here, that's
not their fault.
That's not on them.
I think 3.5 is fair. Like I said multiple times, she gave them good information, but it was like 30 seconds too late.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think 3.5 is totally fair.
Thank you for reaching out to us again.
Am I watching TikTok or am I calling support?
We'll see how this goes, because this is the one we bought from Amazon, and it said in the box, call iBuyPower support.
Hi, I'm having issues with my visual display. Like my computer isn't showing up on my monitor.
Do you have your monitor plugged into the graphics card and not the motherboard?
Good question.
That's about as far as I can do. I'll send you over to technical support so they could do more.
That guy's not even tech support. That's like a sales rep trying to help her out anyway.
I like it.
Technical support, how may I help you today?
Hi, I'm having troubles with like playing video.
The other agent that's described is just...
Come on, Katie.
Hold on.
That's a very different thing.
It kind of is, but just wait.
Your monitor does not have display.
No.
He had the information
He handled
from
it.
the previous call.
He nailed it.
Every time the system may be something you receive in shipping, the number one thing you may check is, besides cables, is these two sticks of RAM. Sometimes in shipping, if it gets a little rough, they come loose a little bit. So that's what we're going to be trying to do today.
Getting down to business.
It's a fair assumption.
And this is exactly why we altered the issue this year.
From the RAM, yeah.
Because we know everyone's going to be ready for loose RAM sticks.
Yeah, it's off now.
Everyone except Dell. Dell,
they
man.
gave up so fast.
I'm just going to show you a quick video that's just going to demonstrate what we're going to be doing, just to kind of review so that there's
Is he going to show her a video and stay on the line?
Maybe.
Is iBuyPower going to win tech support this year?
I could give you the title of the video, essentially.
Oh, sure, fine.
Yeah, that'll work too.
Good
Yeah,
enough.
I can look it up.
It's one sentence, so let me know once you're on the search of on YouTube.
Yep.
So just type in how to properly remove and place back the RAM sticks. RAM and then sticks question mark would be the title of the video, and hit enter.
Beautiful.
There should be a user called Mac.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yep.
So they just found, why make a video?
Yeah.
When you can just find someone else who made a video, get Mr. Mac Quasi a little bit of AdSense money.
Just push the lock outward and this side will pop out. Just pull the RAM stick and you are good to go.
It's an old video, but it works.
Yep.
To place it back, simply open the RAM slot locks.
Yeah.
Align the notch of the RAM sticks to the RAM slot.
But hey, this is a lot better than what happened last time where Katie was just left to her own devices to pull memory out.
And it's super
You should
thorough.
hear a click from the locking mechanism of the RAM slot.
That's right.
2 clicks. Hell yeah.
Okay, any questions?
No.
No questions. Oh, now you like the video.
Did you want to place it on this back, or is it against the
I think
wall
it was
right
just
now?
a handle. I think she was upset that she just got like pushed off to a video.
And that's valid.
Yeah. She's getting better at taking side panels off.
Yeah.
And then once you have removed the latches that the video shows, usually you should just be able to yank off the RAM with a little force.
Yank's a bit of a dangerous word here.
Yeah.
After what we've seen Katie do to a RAM stick.
And then just pretty much pop it back in, top and bottom, push down, downwards into the board.
Okay.
Just let me know once everything's plugged in. Any changes so far?
I don't think so.
We do want to do something called a live session. Do you happen to have some kind of a mobile phone where we could use the back camera of your cell phone to stream so that we could take a look at the computer?
Yeah. Interesting. I like that.
All right, we see a white light right there, right? Next to the 2 sticks of RAM that we were mentioning earlier. And now that usually means it's trying to detect the graphics card connection. Technically, right now, we're hoping
nailed it.
Everything should be fine, and maybe the graphics card might be just a little loose.
Easy.
Nailed it.
I wish he'd done this first. I completely understand why he assumed it was RAM. It usually is.
Yes.
Do you see any gold connectors
that's great.
or gold pins exposed
Killer.
in that general area below that?
Killer.
little
Oh, and the
green-
way he helps her landmark what she's looking at. Oh,
yep.
That little chip, the little gold, the little. Ah, I love it. I love it.
There are a little bit of reflection, but I do see definitely there is something loose there. That's why you're not getting display. So go ahead and turn off the computer real quick. And we're gonna need screwdrivers. This is not gonna be anything major. We're not taking anything out. We're just gonna remove, or not remove.
Wow, even reassures her it's nothing
And we're
major.
gonna just push, not a gentle push, but a pretty firm push.
Doesn't even get her to like take it out and put it back in. He knows you just gotta
Brilliant.
knock it in there.
That's gonna save him so much time.
Do you happen to have a screwdriver?
Yep.
Okay, just go ahead and grab one, and then you could just drop me off there, and then let me know once you're back.
Okay. Okay, I have one.
Okay. So we're gonna locate the screws first. So let me know once you have the phone up.
Should I unplug
Or
everything?
maybe, yes.
He's getting too smart. See? This is the problem. This is the 5th out of 6 calls. She's already telling him, like, should I unplug everything? Everyone else told me to unplug everything first.
That was a bit of a cheat. I'm docking half a point off for him not saying that.
There are the 2 screws right there. Again, you're not removing them. You're just gonna torque it where it stays on, but it's just loose.
Okay.
And then you're just gonna push in with your palm of your hand where it says MSI, and then push it into the board.
Yeah.
And then you could examine to see if there's any still gold pins exposed. If it's good, then you screw it down tighter.
Okay, there she goes.
Wow, she seated it.
Okay,
tightening
she's
it.
in.
And then screw it down. And then we're gonna basically have it plugged in all the way and everything, and then start it up once more.
And then she's gonna be ready for some big nerd gaming.
Okay, still trying to detect the GPU. Okay, it passed the test, so now it's actually either gonna restart or it's actually gonna give you a display soon. So we'll see.
He's confident. He knows he solved it. He cracked the case.
Yeah, it's on.
The display?
Yeah, my monitor is on.
Let's go.
All right, I hope you enjoy. Take care.
Thank you. That went way better than freaking HP.
Bye-bye power.
It was super helpful this time. They got me on a video call and they explained everything super thoroughly.
Nailed it. 4.5, taking off half a point for them not telling her to unplug the computer.
Fine.
Next up is Starforge. They don't have a phone number, so we're gonna email them and see if they can give us one.
Wait, they don't even have a support phone number?
No,
I know they
they
don't have a
just-
sales one, but oh, I don't like that.
I think
That's an automatic point off. in my
last
opinion.
time they did set up a call with us after the fact, after we emailed them and everything.
Hey there. My computer doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, so thanks for contacting us. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. In 5 minutes, they already got back to us and they said, "Greetings, Katie. Thank you for reaching out. We'd be happy to help investigate this issue with you."
Where's my number?
But they're getting back to us within 5 minutes. I would have loved for them to just reach out with a phone number to call us and talk to us at.
To get things started, may we have your order number so that we can validate your hardware? There should be. Now we wait.
Like, have live chat then. Like,
Yeah.
this is fast.
They responded and they asked me if my monitor was plugged into my GPU and not my
Wait,
motherboard.
what, we're doing this whole thing via
Do you have
email?
any monitors connected to your graphics card? And this is
They got
still
pictures,
occurring?
though.
Please let us know.
And he's like, hey, make sure it's not plugged in up here.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it's gonna be
this
a back
is gonna
and
take
forth.
f***ing all day.
It really wasn't that bad. These were all responses like a few minutes later.
Sure, but like
14 minutes.
like.
They got back to us and they wanted us to send them a couple of photos of the computer.
What I'm supposed to do, I'm like, go do my laundry. I get halfway through folding 3 shirts. Now I've got to go look at my computer.
Tons of pictures.
I have already waited longer, though, than our longest other call.
I do agree. And I wish they had a phone line for us to call support. I get not ordering, not a sales line. Fine. A lot of people don't buy them like that anymore, but support, please. Please make a support line, please.
They responded back and told me to reseat my graphics card along with a very descriptive directions and descriptive photos on how to do so.
They didn't show her what a retention clip is. Like,
Yeah, these are very, very good instructions for how to reseat a GPU.
You know what to do.
I don't even know. I don't even need that anymore. What did he say? I'm gonna do my graphics card.
Those were good instructions.
They
though.
really were. They're very thorough. They even say, hey, maybe your clip came loose.
Yep.
Like,
totally valid.
Yeah.
You can tell this is a template that they have.
it's a great template.
Yeah.
Picture with visual indicators with text to describe what is going on. Like you can't ask for more than that, except for maybe one.
Maybe a video.
Line. Or video, okay, sure, a video would be good.
Tech tips.
Oh my god, this clip is really hard. Wow, these are really loose.
She's a pro now.
Yeah, she's way more confident, 6 calls in.
Oh, there goes one of the screws. Where'd it go?
I heard something like
Oh, if only there was some way to retrieve the screw.
So it's hard to say how easily she would have done this if this was the first computer we did instead of the 6th.
Look at how upset she was when someone gave her a video and walked away.
Yes.
Even at system number 3.
Yeah.
If someone had given her a text guide and walked away halfway through this, she'd have been pissed.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I called this the sense of accomplishment and confidence from doing this. You can see it.
Oh yeah.
You could see it in her demeanor.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Good job.
Now I'm gonna check. I'm gonna say, I've learned enough. Thanks so much. It worked. Starforge did a great job with their instructions. There was no phone call, but they responded quickly to emails and they sent me a detailed list of what to do. I give them a 5.
Strong disagree.
I want to say a 4 because the emails were pretty quickly responded to. They had great instructions. It would be a 5 if they had set up a phone call.
I give them a 3.5.
3.5?
I don't want to wait 15 minutes for a message back when we're
okay, fine.
troubleshooting something.
Okay.
No, it's
that's fine. That was the one email that took a little too long, yeah.
And it's not like this is like you bought a thermal pad.
That's true. You spent over $1,000.
You spent significant money.
Yeah.
No.
I think this whole experience was so much fun. I actually learned how to fix part of a computer, which I didn't know how to do before. In the beginning, I was just like, I don't know how to put this in or how to take it out. But I feel like I learned a lot more.
No, she did great. She was a champ.
Yeah. But you know what? You'll find out next time who wins in the drag race. And don't worry, we've seen all your comments about, oh, you're testing too many variations, whatever. We're not giving anyone a leg up in any way. All of our final rankings will be the computers as we got them. And then the extra configuration testing is just to
for your information.
For your information, they should have sent this one, here's what you should have gotten. Yeah. But all the rankings will be just, dollar per FPS as is. And if you want to see another video, check out parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Or the one before this.
Yeah. Or the one before that.
There's 4 seasons now.
Camilla working with his team to try and find plays on the map, and Chayek's like, okay, he went top to steal farm. Take a tower, leave. I'm going back to farming. That man is just moving around the map, prioritizing, opening up the map by securing these early towers, and he's just prioritizing catching waves where he can. Of course, the 1k gold lead in favor of Sheo it's noticeable, it's there. In terms of the atomization, he looks strong. The question is, will he be enough as we get closer and closer to these big fights?
Yeah. And it's interesting because you can see the prio pick of the Varus for Team Herex is good, but it's been matched okay by the Jhin that Karthik's brought, whereas the blind of Azir has not really been matched by Camilla's Zarya at all. Despite the expectations of better early playmaking, as Nako is a menace. Fall coming in from Linsis as well. Camilla forced to ult. Sheo now trying to run. He's just going to Goomba stuff. Instant 2 into the wall. Nako. 1v9 machine. Punching in. Fucking firing back. He throws the house at him. He takes him out. Vitality on the chase. It's a slaughter in the river. They get the 5v5. The solo laners finally allowed to participate. Wow. Vitality just steamroll through Heretics, picking up 3 quick kills and an uncontested dragon. Might be fishing for more. Carlson is hovering around. He wants to stop this red buff. Renal chains down. Nako going forward. World Ender there. Big healing coming in. Niski now going to be the one in trouble. Ultimate versus Carlson. Barely saving Niski. Managing to disengage. I think Nako as well, but the dragon will fall. But the dragon, to be honest, in that sequence, not that important. A massive number of kills. The Q-Poop gold injection going to be the bigger problem.
Snap engage from Vitality was quick and effective. Heretics was immediately on the back foot, forced to retreat. And then Nako and Chayek, the solo laners, as you highlighted, were really impactful in this fight. both finding themselves with a 1.5k individual lead over their lane opponent. It's just a contest over the river, but Sheo takes way too much damage trying to clear out a ward. He then has to disengage, he gets brought back in by the handshake, and then that's Nako's opportunity to go in. One shot lands from Kazi, a second lands, Sten has to block it, but Nako can still find the kill. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fact, Chayak is taking out Camilla with the help of his team. He walks away with a double. 3-0-0 now for Vitality mid.
Radix trying to fire back now, taking control of mid lane. Autocon ready on the bottom side of the map. We'll see if they can find a way to even things up. It's only a 1.3k gold difference between them, but I think Team Fight's a bit over-eager around the river, right? We know they have secure engage tools, but if they walk face first into Vitality, Vitality can still find those hooks, can find those handshakes, make the fights happen. Camilo, at the very least, trying to take up as much loss as he can, trying to catch up to Shaq, who still remains about a whole level ahead of him.
Vitality should feel pretty comfortable with their position right now. Demonstrated that when it comes to the fights, they're still more than strong enough. We talked about the handshakes. Here's another
handshake. There it is, Camilo, one dash. Charm there as well. Ultra Blackstone gonna take him out. It's so difficult.
Open up the Otacon is the question. Azir is there. He's pushing in bot lane.
And I think while Niski has died a couple of times, the combination of the bailout and these clean handshakes have been so impossible for Team Radix to deal with. It's resulted in so many quick kills, so many picks. We've got 80% kill participation, and yeah, maybe some mispositioning, but ultimately a solid performance. Great use of that Renata that you mentioned in draft. Team Radix willing to bet on the 50-50. TP in. Sheo not sure if he wants to get involved. Nako powerful. 2k getting lower on the Otacon. Ulti in from Sheo. Sheo into the pit. Who's going to get the Otacon? 50-50 on the spike. Lince is getting lower and lower. He just wants to finish the objective. Charm through. 200 HP. Otacon finally going to drop in favor of Vitality while Nako is off on the side. Just continuing to rain auto attacks. Hyper procs. Everything in their favor. Carlson tries to style, but Nako faster. He jumps. It just completely bamboozles him. Nako playing a game of his life right now.
Vitality's health bars get so low, but Heretics cannot finish anyone off. It is 4 kills for Vitality. It's going to be another tower as well. They are just running rampant in these fights, and Heretics is quickly losing control over the game.
And again, we see the start here, the call to 50-50. It's a difficult fight. Ultimately, though, Vitality just getting a lot done.
Nako immediately TP's in, and he kind of splits up the fight a little bit. Vitality gets very low. Then Sheo, diving into the backline, completely isolated, means the Vitality turn all their attention onto him. A nice snipe from Flackhead, but then the bailout brings Chayak back into the fight. He's able to go back to base and then look for a TP in. The snipes come through, and you can see how low Vitality members get. But Flackhead really can't get involved in the fight. He's doing what he can from over the wall, but the consistent damage coming through from Vitality means that they just get the better of Heretics in the extended play.
This is a situation now where Team Heretics have to rally. 4k gold deficit, it starts to feel impossible, but you cannot let yourself feel that way. This is a team that held out in so many games, in so many situations over the regular season to mount impossible comeback, even against Vitality with bigger gold leads than this. But that said, it doesn't make it easy. Even the knowledge that you've done it once before does not make it an easy task. And we've mentioned it, Vitality's scaling. They're so comfortable in this game.
Vitality sometimes get over-aggressive.
Going into the mix of the team. The peel back is good. Nako getting chunked out. The Nari tries to find the ult. A little bit too desperate. The bailout is there, but I don't think it's going to amount to much. Sheo now going in. Bandages getting reset. Carlson off to the side. Hook now connecting. Looking for the fall, but Carlson's untouched as of yet. Niski standing off to the side. A few more seconds till the bailout's available again. Sten looking for a little bit of lockup. Trying to make his way out. Lince is taking his time in the fight. Finding one. Karzi off to the side. Going to add a little bit of damage to the mix. In the end, a 1-for-1 top laner for support.
Thing is, Heretics should have been happy with the single kill that they got, but they wanted to fish for a little bit more. And now they're paying for it. Kazi likely going to get chunked back, but I don't think he cares as Chayak continues to hit onto that top tower. It's a 1-for-1, but another tower gained in favor of Vitality. The dragon is spawning soon. Sheo, is he thinking about it? It's a bit risky. I mean, the pings are coming down. TP not available for Camilo, is available for Carlson. Sheo quickly trying to heal up where he can as Vitality quickly reset back out onto the map.
Oh, the trap. A bit of info. Double crowd down now, so they'll at least have some vision in the pit. They can afford to. Just don't even. I don't think you need to. Yeah, I don't think this is where you want to fight.
I agree. Try and get a bit more itemization. try and look for a pick. I mean, a pick would make all the difference with a composition like this. You could quickly snowball it into so much more.
It's tough though. Carzzy has the cleanse. Giant has the Seekers. So a lot of the targets that you would be able to kill quickly are just not easy picking. Especially with the build that Giant's gone for, right? So much just flat HP.
Vitality is in a fantastic spot right now. With full control over the game, they'll start moving into the enemy jungle. That red buff, Sheo. Vitality set their sights on it.
With the 50-50. Yes. Might charge a little bit, but shouldn't matter too much. Ulti going in. Carzzy the one caught off to the side. Bailout already used it. Niski taken down. Hook going in as well, and it's Linsus who's overstays welcome. Sheo now looking to fall off 2 quick picks. And Baron's all on the board. Baron's on the table. Knock-Knock on the bottom lane. Team Heretics rushing now.
Exactly what we were talking about. Heretics finding these picks can be massive, and how quickly you can snowball it into another pick. Heretics set their sights on the Baron, a potential comeback on the horizon. It's down to Chayak to see if he can interrupt.
20k. Chayak over the wall. And Knock-Knocko continuing to split. Shifting sands from Chayak to get away. Sten going over the wall, locking up Chayak for at least a moment. Nasher down, 4 seconds back, but they will concede an inhibitor tower at the very least. Perhaps the inhibitor as well, but Knock-Knocko has to be careful not to overstay himself. No retreat. Team Heretics big. Obviously losing a lot of the gold value because that tower was conceded, but also not giving Baron to Vitality does mean they have so much more time in this game to get a few more items.
Huge props to Heretics for finding that pick onto Niski. It was Carzzy that originally flashed. Remember, they engaged on the red buff. So this engage is not expected by Vitality at all. Both Sheo and Camilo go over the wall. Niski does not flash away from the charm. And then a bit of a re-engage from Linsus means that it spells his demise, allowing for Sten to connect on the hook, connect the ultimate as well, converted into 2 picks. Now Heretics, they haven't completely equalized the gold. There's still a monstrous advantage in both solo lanes for Vitality.
I mean, they're
a breath of fresh air.
We're in a weird position where every time the solo lanes are involved, they win the fight. But when Chayak and Knock-Knocko aren't there, Heretics can get a fight. They're very clearly going to win it. I think Vitality will probably remember it next time.
Good focus on the charm is all it takes.
Sten managing to connect on the Knock-Knocko. They're not going to be able to immediately burst him down as the rage starts to stack. Marisol connecting. A couple of roots there.
The damage is good. They get a huge chunk onto Knock-Knocko. The cannon minions are doing work. They should be able to secure this tower.
Down to tier 2. Sheo immediately going on target while trying to mitigate the threat of the handshake. Camilo did opt to ult.
They want to get as much out of this Baron as they possibly can, and why not continue the siege? Vitality's members are very low.
Hostile takeover. Sheo moving out. Charm connecting onto Carzzy. Big damage, bailout gone. The arrow, where's it going to go? Will not connect. Carzzy forced to retreat, though. Might mean they get a bit more.
They're definitely going to get more. This tower is undefended as Carzzy is forced to back. They're setting their sights on the inhibitor.
Is it happening again? Zonya's there. Pressure on Vitality. They can't afford to make any more mistakes. They had the lead. Carzzy opening up. The curtains there. Sheo backing away. Stand ready to body block. The hook to take him out. And it's going to be an inhibitor down. Traded bot lane for bot lane.
The gold gap is completely closed. Heretics now in a much more commanding position. Admittedly, a lot of the gold lead is sitting on Sheo. But we now have a very interesting game on our hands.
Look, all I'll say is, Knock-Knocko entering that Baron, got a tower, they got a tower and an inhibitor. They're sitting pretty, they're sitting comfortable, and we know how strong Knock-Knocko and Chayak are. It's the other 3 members of Vitality that are getting caught out, and Team Heretics have found members that they can pick off consistently, and they just keep getting the edge with it, and eventually